Hey, what's up, guys? Jared B, what's up?
What's up, dude? How's it going?
Chilling.
I'm pumped for tonight.
Oh yeah, dude, I'm feeling good about tonight. I think that after there's been a lot of attention, more so than usual, on remote viewing, and I think a lot of it, the credit is due to Corbell's weaponized episode. So it was a cool episode. I was watching bits and pieces of it. I didn't really know the guy who they were interviewing, but he talked about McMonagall, so I was really familiar about that. But I think it'll be cool to see the response, and I just like seeing more attention on the remote viewing stuff, and it's cool to see it getting a little bit more national type of focus.
I just reached out to Joe actually to interview him for some Project Stargate stuff.
He's getting up there, man. Like, he probably doesn't have much left, but he's been very active. Like, of the people who are in the remote viewing who have been in the program, him and Paul Smith are probably the most active of like just like holding classes. I know like Paul Smith has like a class through the Rhine that he does and speaks and does like actual, like, if you go there for like 2 months or whatever, or like a month, and just like, oh, it's all remote viewing. That's basically all you do.
Sweet. What's up, guys?
Shit.
Nice.
Tired of hearing about that fucking case already. It's
Dude,
like that. I said in another group, I was like, "Yo, if anybody brings up MH3, whatever, I'm kicking it."
well,
Like,
can I say
I've
this
heard
about it? I actually broke up
so
with the
much
fucking
more
case.
about that in the last 2 days, dude, than it's like ever about any other case
I
ever.
broke up with the case actually because I'm just so annoyed, and I'm just like, you know what? I'll revisit this when other people get there, right? So I'm gonna do some, I guess, happier shit like elf waves, and Oklahoma City bombing. So, do you know what I found out though
Right.
about elf wave technology, low frequencies? So those sons of bitches between 1 and 300, is it millihertz, can circle the globe, which means you're not necessarily running away from elf waves, you're running towards brainwashing. Yeah, and so think about this. If they can do that and they take minimal energy, you can put out those waves in multiple to do all kinds of different things. And that's why one of the reasons I'm revisiting, if you guys haven't got a chance to, is all conspiracy as this sounds. I'm actually in the process of researching. There's a book called Aberration in the Heartland of the Real. It's a story about Timothy McVeigh, and it talks about the different things of basically all his service, special ops, and the fact that he had some dental work, a lot of dental work, and there's a lot of connections that were really weird, especially into the people that were involved in MK Ultra, and some of the very things that he was dealing with and having to deal with was also some of the things that elf technology does to people. So I actually posted in my thread. It talks about Puharik is, was it elf waves to peace, because it's a way of mind control. Make the whole masses, you know, just be happy. As conspiracy as it sounds, that's stuff. That's what I've been looking for a while, and it all plays with this tech and stuff like this, the nines, Project Stargate, how we communicate, all these different things. So yeah, that's the biggest thing for me is build all these things that were now coming, like let's say the MH370. I only mention it for this reason. If you take that case apart, what you have is like the Philadelphia experiment, Montauk, crash retrieval tech, reverse engine. It's not that big a deal to jump that far ahead, right? So
You're just saying in terms of everything else that we have and sort of have disclosed, that
yes.
it's not too far fetched, the actual case itself, even from a standpoint of, let's, our tech, or like you were maybe referencing, like, it's not even alien or extraterrestrial, it's just our shit
Yeah,
and
and
we're doing
I
something.
I think it sounds more believable if you take each piece I gave you, and like I said, I've been vetting, going through sources, working these cases. Philadelphia experiment, portals, all these things by themselves exist in some form or the other. Matter of fact, the people who have them are not our government. They don't have the money. So it's going to be these NGOs, BlackRock, that's the company, right? And so taking them piece by piece. No, yeah, I could see every one of them for a fact. Portal tech, those spheres. Hell, you got Patrick Jackson who talks about them, right? So you take each one, all of a sudden, that case, the only thing amazing about it is we caught that shit on video. And I just said this too, guys. No shit. This is we're getting to a place about 4 or 5 months ago. I said, hey, this is tip of the iceberg. We're getting to a place now that the individuals that get leaked the information and talk about it are going to be labeled like me because everything's starting to get conspiracy. That's how they bury most of this shit because they just say you're a whack-a-mole. It's a conspiracy. And here I am sounding like Alex Jones, but I know for a fact, it's just like, what do you do with that kind of information when people come to you with stuff that you've been taught? Oh, you can't talk about that. Because if you do, and I very well talk about time travel portals, I can tell you right now, journalists aren't going to touch this shit. You have very few people that are. Because as soon as you start talking about it, the people that were into you for the crash retrievals, that motherfucker crazy. We got to get out of here. But then they'll come back around later, like 6 months from now, like they were before. Oh, wow, this shit's real. I always knew it was.
I think that's what they're finding too is like you can't talk about these controversial topics without getting into this anyway. Like once you dig in a little bit, you find out that's like, there's so many different angles and aspects of this which are gonna rub people the wrong way, whether it's the hidden technology, the disclosure, the people getting killed for hiding, you know what I'm saying? It's like all this stuff um could add to it. But let's get to the hands real quick too. Just another son. What's up?
Hi. So, Shane, have you heard of Schumann resonances?
No, but I have now. Enlighten me a little bit, please.
Okay, so the frequencies that you're talking about are present in the ionosphere all the time. They're called Schumann resonances. It's from lightning reverberations off of that ionosphere. And there's a global consciousness initiative through the Heart Math Institute that monitors these resonances and their power levels in dB, and through random number generator networks all over the globe. It's really cool. Should look into it. I know what you're talking about. Being in the defense industry, I don't work on ELF products myself, but I know that my company has patents for some of those frequencies on our broadcasting towers. I know the technology's out there. It's not the frequency that's so important, it's the waveform that they put on top of it. There's papers out there that talk about the pulse length and magnitude and how it alters your emotional states. And when you realize that the Schumann resonances are just a natural phenomenon present all the time. The sun also interacts with the Schumann resonances, and they found mood instabilities in certain people because of that as well. So it's just a natural thing that our brains react to those frequencies because they're resonant with them. But yeah, I've heard of that. You're not crazy. It's not a
Thank
conspiracy.
you for saying that. That was awesome. I really appreciated that.
Yeah, actually, I gave you a follow too. Awesome shit right there. Getting my attention with elf waves. That's the coolest shit. Because again, it's low tech, and we've been using it since the 70s to brainwash in some form or another, right? And I know I'm going to say it, but if you think about it, if the point is making the masses docile, that's a really easy, cheap way to do it. Because the range is actually, like you said, you can go from elated to mad by just changing that up. So thank you for talking about that too.
Well, you said something about like patenting like a frequency, like a certain frequency. Is that what you're talking about, or the delivery of that frequency
They're
of how it's like put out?
Yeah, so it's the waveform that they have patents on, the pulse length and the periodicity between the pulses. I can go see if I can pull up
Yo,
the patents.
periodicity? What the fuck kind of SAT word is that shit?
I
That is
know, dude.
amazing.
Keep
She just
talking. Don't
blew
stop.
my
You're my
face
favorite
off.
person in this room. Period.
Periodicity.
Keep talking about elf waves.
I'm an electrical
Well, I mean, it
engineer
makes me think about
technician.
binaural beats, and like the frequencies that are used there, and so the different tones that people would use to get into a deep meditative state. And if people are looking at like different delivery systems and like patenting that sort of technology. It's almost like, whatever what's his Monroe was doing. uh, if he came up with a certain technology that would able to have somebody have an intentional out of body experience, like that would be extremely valuable technology to
I
have.
do
Have
those
you
frequencies for like meditation too, like Tibetan bowl frequency stuff too.
Hey, have you ever heard about I don't know, I guess delivery methods being placed with people unaware in products, like say phones and things like that are being utilized?
TV screens. I found a patent for displays that would modulate the blue light to control mood.
Hell yes, that's what I'm talking about. Look, keep talking about this. You guys got questions? This is the kind of questions we need to be asking. So let me ask you this. You said you're an electrical engineer, is that what you said?
I'm an electrical engineering
Okay, cool.
technician.
Cool.
Yeah,
This is
it's
awesome
kind of.
stuff. So I'm not a scientist. So as far as elf waves, have you heard about the Gwyn Towers, or let's say Puharic's tooth radio, something along those lines would be unnoticeable by someone, right?
Oh, they're entirely unnoticeable. They're so long wave that like you can't, like I'm super sensitive to electromagnetic fluctuations. I can't feel this stuff. But when the sun starts acting up, the solar flares, I've noticed that it resonates with our towers more, and they accumulate more energy. They have more charge on them, and then I can feel it. But yeah, like it is entirely unnoticeable.
You also mentioned the global consciousness. I may have messed that up a little bit. Do you think that has anything to do with, now I'm going to say, underground pyramids and the very frequencies we were kind of discussing earlier? I don't know a lot about what you were talking about.
I'm not sure if it has, like, if the Schumann resonances have too much to do with like the pyramids, but I think the pyramids could be transducers for sure.
Right on. And I wouldn't be able to follow you on what the hell that means, but I had to ask that question anyway. Because the reason I asked it was this. If we're all frequency, you said Schumann, right? So all these different things, and I'm under the impression that those pyramids, that pyramid, underground pyramid, just bear with me. I know I've been talking doom and gloom, like the end of the world's coming. What if they were put there to harness, and then what was it? I guess because when you have frequencies overlap and cause a resonance, right? And so the earth will, what the hell, how was it explained? So basically these things were put there to prevent the earth from wobbling, because the wobble will end up doing a freaking pole shift like we don't want. That's why I was asking that, because someone was telling me that shit's all connected and someone hit the reset button. The end is nigh, guys.
I've
A
been
wobble
okay.
wobble.
So I've been around some products where like I can walk past it and I can feel like my light body staying near it. And like I've only ever felt that with one thing, but I have felt something that captures my extra bits.
Wait, hey, is that a what? What kind? Is a specific kind of camera that captures in a certain on the?
Oh no. We definitely have cameras that can see that.
Oh, you meant like you walk by and
Tom,
you can feel it snatching you like unintentionally.
yes. Yes.
You're not going to tell us. You're just going to make me guess all products.
Well, I mean, like, I can't tell you what it is. I mean, like, I've got clearances and
Okay,
stuff
cool. What
to
if you use
keep.
pig Latin? No one will know. I'm messing with you. I get it.
I'm
No,
sorry,
I
you
get it. I
can't.
appreciate it though. So, okay, man, do you have people that their job is to design these so they could be put? I guess these patents, are they supposed to be designed in ways that no one knows what the hell they do?
Yes.
Holy shit, I wasn't expecting that answer. So,
Well, I mean, like, how do you get a group of engineers to put out a product with the intention of it functioning a certain way? Because there's going to be ethical dilemmas amongst your workforce for that. I mean, we've already seen it, internally with like the use of AI. So, I mean, yes, there is. I've talked before in this space about how these products that do phenomenal things are in very mundane spaces, like on a shop floor with union electricians sitting on a test bench. And like you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know.
we're gonna get over to Taylor real quick, but probably, man, This is amazing stuff. What's up, Taylor?
Yeah, sick up here. What's up, Taylor?
Yeah. Hey, what's up? Yeah, I'm glad she's in here too. Now, I was wondering, well, going back to the random number generators, that is a really great way. If you just get one, they're not that expensive. If you put one out somewhere and you just use that place as like your remote viewing location where you practice, the numbers on your random number generator, when you remote view that location, will reflect that something is going on there that wasn't before. So it's a good way to prove, your own sort of psychicness to yourself.
Can
Random
you
number
expand on that though? Like
generator.
how? So what will we be looking
Oh,
for?
okay. So the energy that's produced, because when you remote view a place, there is energy applied to that place, to that remote location, even the ground. Like I mean, you put a remote random number generator on the ground, the energy that is applied from using your psychic mind to look at that place will cause the random number generator to spit out different numbers while you're doing it. Does that make sense?
So like if I have the random number generator, so like what should I be looking for it to start spitting out random numbers when I'm RVing?
I think it
It's
No,
the
looks
it'll
for
give
same
like
you
something that
numbers.
trends, like
different
something that
numbers.
points out like a pattern that
All right,
appears during that specific
gotcha. All
time.
right.
And then there was okay, and one other thing, and Shane, definitely MK Ultra is to be taken seriously. However, you wouldn't know if you were being mind controlled. It's something we'll have to work up to as a species. It's like, and I don't know what I believe. I just know I don't doubt anything. And if I understand it correctly, galactic law prohibits unauthorized mind reading. We'll get into all that in the future too.
Spoken like someone who's under mind control, Taylor. What's
No,
up,
I have a
Adrian?
question for
I'm
Taylor.
also a cultist.
On that random number generator. Do you know of any differences between? I've heard recommended to use a quantum random number generator, but that's like $5,000, right?
That
That's like
sounds
too crazy.
expensive. I would
Yeah.
just get
Is
a real, like the cheapest bottom of the line one you can get, and just put it in that location, maybe two in the same location. There will be like a registered, like, and you and your friends try this together. See what happens on the, like, when you, on the random number generator, when it's just you who remote views the location, and then get three or four of your friends to remote view it at the same time and watch what happens too. It's awesome.
sounds easy enough. That's badass. Thanks.
What's up, Jules?
It is. Hello. I was just listening to the random number generator thing and wondered if any of you remember a space that I did a long time ago, where we all looked at the random number generators being used by the Global Consciousness Project. You can look at them live, and we all concentrated on changing the outcome on that, and it appeared to work for quite a long time. There's a lot of stuff about it on the Global Consciousness Project website.
I wonder if they had anything about the recent activity around the world of what's going on, and because that's what it measures is basically like large scale events like 9/11 and large scale wars and stuff, but like it's almost like a pre-sentiment that everybody has globally. And so that's what the random number generators for the global consciousness show is like before these events happen or take place, like there's a sort of synchronicity that happens throughout these random number generators that show that like we know that it's going to happen in some fashion. Sue, what's up?
Shane, when I first read Elf Waves, I thought you were referring to my nasty personality earlier today. Elf, short, tiny. So I thought you were referring to my nasty waves that I was putting out earlier today.
Oh, because
And
of
if
me?
anybody, well, not just you, it was like everybody had a space, and I was just sitting here in my, I'm not trying to play the "oh, I'm so sick" card, but I'm starting to get a lot of side effects from the radiation, and I was just sitting here being so miserable, and I didn't want to look at my phone, but I didn't know all these spaces were going on. I'm going to have to go back and read them. But if you check your DM, you'll see
I will. I
that
wasn't ignoring you, Sue, and I'm proud of you, though.
I
You're
know,
kicking ass.
I know.
But I will tell you this, we actually all had a pre-space before those spaces to plan and have them to avoid you. Just so you know. Don't tell anybody else that, though.
Yeah, I
No, we
figured.
didn't. Hey, what you need to do, go on my page, Sue. Set it so that every time I'm in a
Yes,
space, you,
yes.
you have it.
I did, and I took it
Oh, so
off.
you broke up with me and you're blaming me. That's just like some woman
No,
shit
I
right
didn't
there.
break
That's
up.
just some woman shit
No,
right there.
no, I've only done that when there was a reason that I wanted to. Like the other day, I thought when you weren't around, I did. Was it that day? Whatever, I did it
Well,
just
I'll start
recently.
sending you a link. And I'm sorry I didn't do that. I just had a spur of the moment
That's
one, okay?
okay.
Sue,
But
I
we're gonna
tell
move
you
back
to
Yeah.
around.
follow me, and I could help you too. But you're a Red Sox fan, and I don't want Red Sox fans following me.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't want any
Chill.
skanky fans follow me either. But anyway, I just want to apologize to anyone who read those tweets. I was really not feeling well at all, and I just was like, "Damn, I could have been on
Hey,
these
Sue, you
spaces."
don't gotta
So,
apologize. We all are allowed to have bad days. I'm currently living through a 3-year one. So you do you keep
well,
being
actually,
strong. That's all that matters.
I'm
Survive, right? That's what we do.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys. And now I know. Oh, and I'm really, really looking forward to the Timothy McVeigh Oklahoma City stuff. Really, really. My daughter had to do a big paper on that, and so we went all through it again and everything, and I'm really looking forward to finding out more about that.
Well, if you're listening to find out more about that, then keep listening to this Elf Wave talk because that plays into that
Yeah.
hardcore, right? So, just another son, speak to us about the elf technology.
Not so much on the elf anymore, but after watching the Tom DeLonge movie, I think I can safely say that I believe that the technology exists for that GPS device.
See, now I'm behind because I don't watch movies and shit, and I'm gonna have to watch a movie. So look, that's my problem is I have a very difficult time watching things like that. So I do fall behind of things like that. So please, somebody brief me, or if she can't, so include me in.
Well, on that kind of science tip, I posted in the Megatron there. Dean Radin's giving a talk on experiments
The
exploring the
goat.
quantum observer effect at this Theosophical Society in America on October 21st. So it's coming up. So I know Astral, that's your dude, and you'd be interested in that. I just wanted to kind of drop that in the thread too. And then also I want to encourage Astral. When are you actually revealing the target again? It's almost 7:30 now.
Yeah, appreciate it. And anybody here for the remote viewing, thanks for coming. And we'll reveal the target in about 30 minutes here. So I've got up top the target. I'll post it up at the nest again. It's a hidden random picture inside of an envelope, and you can draw or describe. I would recommend drawing it out. Take a little bit of time, draw it on a piece of paper. I'll take a picture of the actual picture. It's double blind, so I don't know what the picture is either, and I'll take a picture of it. You can compare your submission, and people just like coming up and talking about their experiences or some of their methods. And I've been doing this for a little over a year, so it's been cool to see people's participation and people coming back and really testing themselves to see if they have kind of like a more of an ability to do this for remote viewing. I think it's more of like a natural ability we'll have, but it's kind of like musicians, where if you take your time and you really go out and practice this and work on it, and kind of read yourself of how it's done, and research it, that you can get better. And there are skillful people, especially like McMonagle.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, some guys are just like next level. Like, I think everybody can have some inherent ability to do it, but it's consistency. It's like baseball, right? Everybody can hit a baseball, but can you do it in the major leagues? Can you do it consistently? And I think that's the difference maker between like someone who can remote view casually versus someone who is like remote viewing under pressure, right? I think that's the other thing too. A lot of us, when we remote view, like there's no real pressure. Like a real hardcore remote
There's no
viewer.
James Randi with the $1 million challenge.
Yeah, I mean, like remote viewing under pressure, which I think is an interesting idea too. So when we do these things, I hate to say it, like say we have a downed fighter jet again, like an F-35 or some sort of plane, you know, conducting some sort of mass remote viewing thing in a space or something would be kind of an interesting experiment, considering there's like uh, outlying variables that we normally wouldn't have.
Great. Let's get back to Just Another Sun Junkie. You just mentioned something about GPS. I didn't catch it before we moved on. Can you say that again so I can think about it?
So in the Tom DeLonge movie, there's a device that the main character has that is like allegedly a GPS device for predicting where the phenomenon is going to appear next through these microgravitational
Oh, the
anomalies.
quantum satellite.
And
All right, keep going.
well, I don't know about all that, but like you know, there's sensors called quantum magnetometers, and then like rubidium standards and strontium and all these like really super precise clocks that have been used to track like submarines since World War II. And I think that is what they're talking about.
Is that similar to Dr. Jim, was it Segola, where he had a device for experiencers that measured, I don't know, some of those things, but probably not all of those things? Just, it was able to measure gravitational distortions, all these things on the fly, so you just knew what was really there?
I think so, yeah.
Interestingly enough, like Tom DeLonge, in one of his interviews with Church years ago, talked about one of his advisors told him that someone cracked the code, I think was his exact verbiage, or figured out, you know, when these motherships were showing up, when they would show up, and where they would show up. So interesting that I wonder if there's some sort of correlation.
You know, that reminds me of, actually, I'll have to go find it. Something I saw in the news of science about these bursts of energy light, blue light that come from space, and it's only single directional, right? And they got theories for what they are, but knowing what, and they're full of neutrinos, and knowing what we know about neutrinos now and how neutrinos work, and we utilize them to actually communicate and speak, and or to all these places. I'm starting to wonder if those, were they short something bursts? I'll find it in a second anyway, but they go one direction. And we have the ice cube detector, right? We also have what's his name? Freaking Eric. I'm gonna mess it up. I'll think of it in a second too. But he talks about it being some kind of a death laser or array, or are we sure it's not a communication device?
Are you talking about gamma ray bursts?
No, not gamma ray. There. Let me go find it real quick. It's intense blue light, and it goes one direction. I just found. I'll post it real quick. It's better than talking.
I saw Emus jump in. How's it going?
Hi guys. I was just gonna tell old vet that I'm gonna take him in a post that, what is this guy, Dan Zetterstrom had posted a bunch of clips from Monsters of California or whatever it is. Like he calls them Easter eggs that he's gonna discuss all kinds of screenshots from the movie. And in one of them, somebody transcribed all the GPS locations from that device that what is her name? Just Another Sun Junkie was mentioning, because he seemed curious about it. But yeah.
Yeah, post it. Actually, post that, please. And I was actually talking about Lumina. I just posted it up there too. Gosh darn it. Just read it, because I'm going to mess the name up. LF Bots is what it is.
Yeah, I admittedly haven't seen the movie yet, so don't
Dude,
hold it against me.
it's literally, look, I'm going to tell you, I live my life pretty much like that movie exists, right? For example, as I'm going through these rooms and I'm talking to Just Another Sun Junkie or any of these individuals, I'm seeing little clues here and there that are being given by, let's say, the simulation. Just feels like that, because it helps me piece puzzles together. So that's why I'm like, oh, hell yeah, if someone has all of that, that's essentially what they're doing. Just giving you all the tidbits in places that you can get it, mixed in with fiction, right? That's what I do.
Yeah, I don't need to see a movie of Bigfoot peeing on somebody to know that Bigfoot actually pees on somebody.
What kind of movies do you watch about cryptids? And where do you get them? Because I'm asking for a friend.
Monsters of California. UFO Shane, what's up?
Hey guys. Am I the only person that like cares that he promised you a zero gravity craft, but come along made a shitty American Pie movie instead? Am I the only guy that cares about that? Probably, but it's just a little weird to me that he promised you a zero gravity spacecraft, but instead he made a $49 million movie about Bigfoot pissing on people.
Is that, wait, let me ask
Is
you
that
this
just
though,
me?
Shane. Is that like having spaces promising people you'll talk about UFO and just yelling hoaxer? Is that similar?
Yeah, Aspen's full
Not
of shit.
knowing it.
He's literally shit on
Yeah,
everybody.
but it's not that,
Old
brother.
vet. I'm
It's
not here to argue with you,
I
dude.
know, because you couldn't
All I'm
argue with me. You
saying,
can only do
all I'm
emotional
saying,
arguments. We all know this.
what I'm saying is that this guy
Okay, get
promised you a
emotional.
zero
Show us.
gravity
Get
fucking
emotional.
spacecraft, and he gave you a fucking movie
Wait.
about Bigfoot pissing on people.
He
Let's
Am I
gave
the only
say
us
person
he
that
gave
gives a
us
shit
guys.
about
No, that's
this?
not emotional
Is that what it
intelligence at
is?
all.
Old vet, Shane, you fucking troglodyte piece of shit.
Shane, he
Wait,
gave us 4 books,
Yeah,
man.
bro, calm
hold on,
down.
hold on.
You're not
The
angry at
the
all.
investment
Not emotional
the
intelligence.
investment in TTS is something that was a high risk investment. Like, number one, anybody who invested their money into that company thinking like this was going to yield some sort of meaningful return, it was a long shot. Like, you should have read the paperwork. It was always a long shot.
And if you believe
But yeah,
that
I
shit,
mean,
you probably
yo,
deserve to be taken.
anybody who's like touting this like SEC investigation of TTSA, right, should know that the person behind it, Cal Korth, is so full of shit, bro. That guy has lied about being like a commando. He's like, I have a whole clip of him having to apologize on air to Art Bell for saying things that he knew wasn't true. So I'm just like, the people that are behind, like, I'm not going to say, like, look, TD didn't say things. And look, things don't happen. And unfortunately, I don't know what that whole UFO thing was about.
Look,
But the idea that it was just like they're all just a ripoff. I think there's more to it than just like he took the money and ran and made a movie.
yeah, none of that matters. My point is this: when you come in a room and you want to just sit there and talk shit about an individual as opposed to why, and I get he just said because of that. Okay, cool, right? The emotional intelligence thing, the thing that I'm getting tired of, the non-self-awareness, going in and calling people hoaxers and grifters, and then immediately asking for coffee money, because that tells me you think you contributed a lot more than you fucking did. People in these rooms come in here to talk about the subject, not to listen to someone who wants to hear himself talk, who doesn't contribute shit to UFOs. He's literally coming in here calling people pieces of shit. That's all he does. So we should be focusing on disclosure. That's probably part of the reason it's not existing, because all individuals do is rely on that yelling. Oh, he did this once. He's a piece of shit. Guess what, dude? Some of the individuals that have the best fucking evidence are imperfect because they've been disinfoed. All this other, there's not many of us. And to watch people talk like they know this subject, like UFO Shane, when all they're trying to do is incite blah, blah, because that gets them attention. And fine, he can do it, but not in these spaces, right? Because remote viewing UFOs, this shit's legit. People like myself with an experience that's so fucked up, ain't nobody gonna be around me, be near me. The more I talk about how real my experience is, less friends I fucking have, 100%. So I do these rooms for that. So I get sick of people whose only job is to make attention go on them. So I apologize for being a dickhead, guys. Like, literally.
Oh, bro, you're good. I mean, I say it all the time, man. It's better to not even attach any of the information or latch on to anybody that's coming out with information that's, it's kind of like you take in all of the stuff that you learn through this in totality with what you know, what you've researched, and what you've experienced, and just don't latch on to anybody specifically of what they're saying. And just have your own opinion and kind of discover this for yourself. That's kind of the way forward.
I
But
agree. And here's one more
I
thing, though,
just,
Astral.
me, bro. I just don't like this shit and
I know,
the
and I'm
drama
not
in
going to
these
talk about that
spaces.
anymore, but here's something that's important so we can move on. I want everyone to talk in these rooms freely. Express yourself, your opinion, even if it's far fucking different than mine. I just want you to do it in a way that you bring us with you to your side, right? The point of an argument is to help them come to you, not to push people further away, which is all we're doing when we say he's a piece of shit. He's that dude. Convince me, bro. You can change my mind. My goal in these rooms is to make you all change people. That's my point. Be nice, sugarcoat shit. Also, on that note, Ashton's bullshit, that doesn't help anyone. Matter of fact, it kind of irritates the fuck out of someone who has sources who could possibly lose sources, because how do you get secrets without sources? So we got to be careful here, guys. That's why I get emotionally intelligent about this shit, because how do we want these secrets, or do we not want these secrets? There's very few of us out there. And I love you guys.
Hey,
Love you
trust
too,
is a
Ken.
big thing, man, when it comes to information. So, Emus, what's up?
I just have a question. Astral, I know you didn't see the movie yet, but anybody that, and this is not any spoilers or anything like that, but anybody that watched Monsters of California, didn't they, when you see the silver disc, right, the flying saucer, etc., didn't they refer to that or reference it being called the Locust? I don't know if anybody caught that, but that confused me because I thought that the Locust was the TRB-3, the triangular craft. So I don't know if anybody that's like in the minutia of the Secret Machines books noticed that as well. Thanks.
I didn't notice that, but that's super interesting. So I'll go back and look for that comment. That's fascinating. Yeah.
I've got a post somewhere. I'm going to put it up in the nest about I think it's called the TRX is what they call it. TR3B is like the, what is it, disinfo name or something? But yeah, those triangles are ours. I'll put it in the nest.
Yeah, correction. It's the Astra TR. Damn it, I just had it in front of me and now I don't. But it's like Astra TR something. But it might not be B3. You're correct, yeah.
I think it's the TR3B. That's
No,
what
it
I
is the name of
remember
the one.
from.
Is they call it TR3B. What I'm saying is, and I'm again a while back, just from sources piecing together, the TR3B, the name doesn't exist. It's like it's the same thing. We're just calling it the wrong name. Does that make sense? It's a TRX program instead of TR3B or something along those lines.
Joe Broom.
I knew you did that.
So in the book, in the Secret Machines books, they refer to it as the Astra TR3B Locust. And in the movie, I could have sworn they were like, yeah, they just started building this in the 2000s, the Locust, and it's circular, not triangular, which is weird.
Say that again, please.
I like the Astra name better, by the way.
I do too. In the Secret Machines
The last
books, the
part. Yeah, I'm
fictional
sorry. I know you've
books.
done it 6 times, but when you're
Sorry. In the movie Monsters of California, when you are looking at the flying saucer, the big silver circular disc, the scientist or somebody standing there mentions that they started building it, and then he references the round disc in the early 2000s, and then he calls it the Locust. But the Locust is what that's what he calls the TRB-3 in the book. So I found that not to make sense. So
let's make that make sense. I'm gonna look into that now, actually, because I actually got a bunch of research for those programs. So
Yeah, I mean the TR3B should always be a triangle if it ever is, right? No flying saucer should ever have some. Yeah, but it wouldn't surprise me if like Tom DeLonge did some bong rips and just like didn't care.
you guys just figured out all my news posts. I just make all that shit up. I've never even met a source. No, fuck, that'd be wild, huh? 3 years of shit like that. No, man, I'm telling you. Here's the thing. I just made a post about it, right? This information's crazy. How do you get it out? And you got to get it out in a way that's non-classified, all these other things. You mix it with fictitious shit, man, and it's like a little puzzle to me. I love this puzzle, actually. Matter of fact, probably love it a little too much, actually. Anyway, what do you got, Kimball? Welcome.
What's up, guys? Damn, I don't think
I
Screen's
intimidate
in
people,
here.
Kimball. It's
I
okay.
was,
Get your breath. Get your breath. It's
dude, I'm
around me.
so intimidated. Oh my god, old vet's in here. What do I do? Astral, what do I say right now? We got old vet. What the fuck?
It happens.
No,
Just
for
breathe.
real. Screen's not in here anymore, but I swear it's late, guys. I had a long day. But Emus just referenced the Astra project, and maybe I'm conflating like names and animals, but I swear it was like the Manta. Wasn't there like a top secret Air Force project named the Manta? I know there's a Stingray thing which has become popularized through other people, or other subjects, but like, is manta not a thing? Am I high?
Well, no, I don't know if you're talking about the name of a craft, but some of the craft are shaped like biological craft, and they move like them, and they kind of look like a manta. Like one in Roswell, I think, actually one of the ones that crashed in Roswell, I think.
Yeah, manta ray or a stingray, according to Oak Shannon and me and Adelaide.
Hey, so what do you think crashed in Roswell? Do you think it was? Well, there's multiple events. Do you think any of the events were your typical grays? Do you think any were time travelers?
I can't I can't speak to Roswell. I could maybe speak to Kenneth Arnold, but that's it pretty much.
Well, then I'm going to ban you from this room. The whole point now, man. I'm just asking. Anyone in this room?
I'm sorry.
Anyone?
Yeah, legit. I'm gonna go with biological, like AIs. Like they were like, yeah, they're bodies, but they're not really bodies. And yeah, it was some sort of craft. And my working theory is it's some sort of von Neumann probe, stupid AI who thinks we can't figure out that it's not an alien from Zeta Reticuli. You know what I mean? Like it's some cheesy AI who's like sending shit at us, and we're like, all right, come on.
All right, Jamie, go ahead. What's up, Jamie?
Hey, thanks. Great space. Except for that one part. But yeah, we're past that. Anyway, I just wanted to say that you were mentioning earlier about some kind of some kind of a book or something, and the MK Ultra stuff. And Sue was saying something about it, and it reminded me that I'm now a student, and I signed up for my bachelor's with Homeland Security and Emergency Management. So I'm hoping to help end human trafficking and uphold the Constitution. So I'm excited about that, and so silly. I totally thought that podcasts had something to do with with video. So, and then I looked it up, and no, it doesn't. It's audio. So like spaces are basically podcasts. So whatever. I'll be doing. I've been doing them on Sundays and Mondays, so it's not too crammed with people. But I don't know. We'll see. But thanks, and this is going to be so much fun to do this. I want to utilize, you know, all these different abilities and skills and things, like not try to be limited by like the stigma anymore, help, we could need to move past that. So yeah.
That brings a good point, actually. We were talking about, I don't know if it's this from honing those remote viewing skills, that hunch. Has anyone in here, or do you, anyone in here does know anybody, let's say, that does kind of rely on something like that, and they actually willingly admit that it's something like a hunch, or instead of just not even knowing? For example, and let's say McMonagall, right? And I'm not saying that this is a thing. Like we were saying, he's good at what he does there. Do you, any of you individuals have people that you know that are also just kind of have that innate ability to just like, wow, what is that? Wow, you're a bunch of.
I think one of the things too, like that made McMonagall so good was that he was an artist. So like he could get his impression of what the target was and like instantly draw what he was visioning. And for a lot of people it's hard, like I'm not good at drawing. I have to draw like fucking stick figures. But if somebody could it's like that combination of like creativity and intuition, where if you use it and find a way to like get in that state where you can use it together, it could be really powerful.
Go ahead, just another son.
So I use my intuition at work, if that's what you guys like were asking.
That's 100% what I was asking. And I guess I'm fully retired, but I kind of use mine for this is my work, this stupid shit.
Hello?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I used to, I was the first float tech at a detox facility, like 15 years ago or something. I'm getting old now. Anyway, and I was their first float tech, so I learned 3 different jobs, and I floated between those, utilizing my intuition. Like that's actually what my boss had mentioned to me to utilize, to go between and then fill in, for that. So that was a pretty interesting job because it was actually part of the job. So I loved that. And I've used it for other things too. Just for like ease of navigation and stuff. And somebody mentioned earlier, like nobody remote views under pressure. Well, like I didn't know it was like remote viewing really, but you know, I get this cog moose radar, somebody called it before, that saw it work so many times. So it's just like looking down the road while I'm driving or riding, and getting a sense of it beforehand, a couple of turns away, and you know, in time to slow down and not hit it. And it's happened so many dozens of times that I don't know, it's just something about the movement, I think. But yeah, it helps. It's, I guess that's kind of under pressure because moose are really big. People probably don't realize that they get over 1,000 pounds and stuff too, and can actually kill people in the car.
Okay, I'll jump in on your question about the intuition and also knowing people, that are extraordinary at remote viewing. I've been training in it 13 years. I've been very, very blessed to have trained with 3 of Ingo Swan's original students and then mentored by a 4th. And what's fascinating, and one thing that most people, naturally, like you said, you have phenoms like Joe McMoneagle, but even the people that start out with a rudimentary, what I would call native, and what Ingo Swann called, native human ability, training will make a radical difference. And as you train over the course of a period of time, and Ingo generally recommended like 3 years. Tom McNear, his very first student, he trained, was the only military person trained in all 6 stages, and that was 3 years. And that's basically because of what we now call neuroplasticity, but Ingo called building pathways in the mind. So what's fascinating is how much you can improve. When I started a basic course, I was not that good. And then by intermediate, then by advanced, then by operational, then after sketching course and some other work, you can really, really improve with both training and study. Um, as far as looking at a couple of people that are phenoms, most of those people don't go public these days. I know a few of them. I've seen sessions come out of people that, like, even though I'm in the same group with them, it's like, I think they cheated. It's like, there's no way you could possibly, produce a product like that. But those people generally stay quiet, as does most of the professional remote viewing community. I worked for a couple of professional operations, and even on those teams, I didn't know who the fellow team members were. Our sessions, would be collated by the project manager, analyst, given to the client many times. And actually, I would go so far as to say most of the time, you don't get feedback. You'll never know what you viewed. You'll never know who the client was. And that's just the way you have to go. Now, I've been under a couple of pressure situations. One of them was when one of my mentors, an original student of Ingo Swann, asked me to do a session for them. So you feel like your head's going to cave in. You're terrified of being wrong. You don't want these people saying, "What, did I waste all these years on you?" And it just becomes a massive swirl in your head. And the way to handle that is, the way Ingo designed the original CRV, is you have a personal inclemency category where you can literally write a page of stuff before you start the session to objectify it. Get all those worries, get the fact you forgot to pay your garbage bill, whatever, get all that on paper, and then just resort to your training. And it takes time and it takes work, and it's worth it. So hopefully, and then the last thing, sorry. So as you do it, as you learn in sessions to eradicate imagination, memory, emotion, personal preference, and premature conclusions, under Ingo's theory and neuroplasticity, it actually and strangely starts to appear in your daily life as intuition. And so this is like one quick example, and then I'll be quiet. There's one day, just a normal route I would take every single day without fail for like 3 years to go get a cup of coffee at our favorite little drive-through stand. And one morning, for no reason, I don't know why, but I just took a different route. And right at the time I would have got there from the other route, a massive, like, high speed collision just exploded and took out like 5 cars in the intersection. So also smaller things, that was pretty dramatic, but there's lots of things. So I do personally believe, from experience and then from talking to other people I've worked with over the years, that the formal training can then begin to appear in your daily life. So hopefully that answered your question, at least from one perspective.
That was awesome. Thank you so much.
Hey, so I just do want to. I love that word neuroplasticity. What a great word. So something I've been like going down a rabbit hole with is psilocybin research, and a person I know has been experiencing an extreme case of neuroplasticity in that when they ingest a large amount of psilocybin, their dominant hand will switch, which is very unique. And this same person has also experienced uh, like an increase in intuition that like I don't want to say channeling a cat, but aware when there's like feline energy around them. And again, I don't know if those things are all related to neuroplasticity. But again, I wonder if remote viewing under those conditions where someone is experiencing neuroplasticity through being induced, through psychedelics, how that, some sort of sustained study with people who are gifted, it would be interesting.
B, go ahead.
Good evening, guys. I was just going to drop in here that there's some studies, and I'll link them. But they're actually finding that people that practice certain types of meditation, that the neuroplasticity that happens in the caudate potato, because I can never say that word, is similar to that happens, or that they found with these higher end remote viewers that Nolan's talked about. So I'll drop those links in there.
Was it Ray or Sue? What happened to Jared?
Sue, you can go ahead first. Thanks. Actually, I'm coughing. Maybe not. Go ahead, Rick. Okay, I got you. Hot mic, Sue.
I got her.
What's up, everybody? So I just wanted to speak to like the intuition piece. I definitely feel like it comes in really handy in work for me. I feel like a lot of therapists definitely tend to be intuitive. We shouldn't be like technically be anticipating or knowing what our clients are thinking or feeling or are going to be doing next, but at least for me it certainly helps me be able to keep my own anxiety in session in check, because things can get really heavy, and just kind of being able to read the situation and sense the energy, and kind of just intuitively knowing where things are going, I can almost be prepared, and then be able to kind of rise to the occasion and set my own shit aside, and just be able to be present in the moment. And so for me, I really rely on my own intuition as a therapist, particularly.
Sorry, I was actually downloading the coordinates from the movie. Hey, what's up, Sue? You ready now?
Yeah, I think so. Actually, I just wanted to say goodnight because I have early morning again. But finally, it's Friday anyway. I'm sorry I'm going to miss the remote viewing, but I didn't really do it anyway this week. So everybody,
Boo.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe next week, but a little earlier. I have early mornings these days. Anyway, so good night to
Good night, Sue.
everybody. Be kind, stay well, stay safe, and love you all. Good
Love you,
night.
Sue. Night. Why you gotta be so mean, Astral, all the time to people?
Sorry, 5 minute warning on the remote viewing, by the way. Almost, what's up?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Ray, how long have you been doing the remote viewing? Because I think you're pretty good at it, I've noticed, and I was just kind of curious. Have you been doing it for like the full year? Yeah.
I think I started trying coming into the spaces about a year ago. Not right at the very beginning of maybe like a month into Astral Spaces, but I tried most weeks, and I don't know. I would have some accuracy here and there, but not really any consistency. But I think around April or May, I started looking into the CRV manual. I haven't gotten through it or really gone into too much depth. But I started following one suggested protocol. I don't even know like what to call it. I just like refer to it as the pencil drop method. And then I use like a few certain things, like just routines or rituals that I've kind of like adapted myself. And I feel like I've been having like way more consistency since implementing like a routine or ritual. And yeah, so it's been since I want to say April or May. And then like it really things really kicked off for me just in terms of like synchronicities and precog stuff. And just, I don't know. Just I don't know how else to put it. I don't know. In June, really, things just started kind of kicking off for me in terms of like size stuff, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but I noticed that a couple, I don't do it every week, and I'm terrible at drawing, so I don't really want to post what I've drawn. But I've noticed yours are on point a lot of the times. So I was just interested in that, and yeah, that's good to know to come up with your own little rituals and way of doing things. I'd be curious to learn more about um, how to improve, right? Um, I don't know. I need a remote viewing class or something.
Astro, is there enough time before you reveal to say something to Ray?
Yeah, go for it.
So that's really exciting. You're looking at the CRV manual. The original of that was Tom McNear's notes, and I don't know where you can post a PDF or something, but I'll try to get that to you. The pencil drop method basically is a symbolic method. What it is to break. So when you say AOL break, what you're wanting to do is break off of the imaginary signal line or the premature conclusion. So in other words, you have multiple signal lines feeding into your session. So what the viewers found was if they set the pen down, and we went through this in our original training, and pull your hand away, that symbolically tells your preconscious, get off of that particular signal line. And it's a great tool. And then actually at a certain point, once you're habituated to that, you might not actually set your pen down. Eventually, when it came to like an AOL or an analytical overlay, when I was writing it, I pictured that like dissolving out of my mind. Sounds a little crazy, but running down my arm, out the pen, onto the paper. And that objectification, that's what Ingo said, you've got to get that stuff out of your system. If you try to repress it, it's going to sit there and filter or taint your session. So I don't know. I'll fish around. I might end up putting because there is a link to it. Tom McNear's original notes that then Paul Smith and Ingo's other students took and turned into the actual CRV manual. So if I can, I'll link that in the chat for you. Okay.
Wow, I really appreciate that. I've yeah, I'm gonna go back and listen to this recording. I wrote a few things down. So just so I can make sure I got this one part right, are are you suggesting that the pencil like should be put down? I understand like the symbolic piece. Um, I for some reason I got stuck on that part for
Yeah.
anyway.
Oh no, you should do what works for you. That was one of the methods, and it became a
Got
very
it.
popularized one. And a lot of trainers will use that. But um, despite the rigidity of the structure, that's just to lay down the pathways of that neuroplasticity. But in terms of style, it should be all you. What the way you feel things, the way you describe things. In other words, you're the viewer, and so if you like the pen, great. If somebody else likes tapping on the table
Also,
3
I was
times,
just,
yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off. I was just asking because I do put the pencil down. So I was just, so basically you're saying it doesn't matter, just get into like whatever works for you. I just wanted to make sure that it didn't make a difference. So I really appreciate just the information. I think where I'm struggling with, and then, we can obviously talk about this more in DM. I mean, this is a remote viewing space though. I'm really struggling with deciphering between analytical overlay versus, direct information about the target because maybe I don't understand exactly what AOL is. Um, because I get information about the target, like I'll get sensory, like physical sensations. I get auditory stuff sometimes. I don't really get tastes, but I definitely get much more
That's a great question, though.
sensory input other than visual.
Well, okay, I don't want to interrupt Astral's reveal. Should we pick it up after you
No,
do the
keep going. I
reveal?
mean, we got time, dude. I think this
Okay,
is good though, of like separating the noise from the
right.
information.
We
And like
all
real quick, like sorry, actually, yeah, like tonight, tonight was the first night I ever distinguished AOL, because I wrote down like heat, heart racing, anxiety, and these are all, and I thought maybe it's because like my Adderall was leaving my system, so I was like, wait, that could just be this, because of that. I don't know, so it's just so again, maybe we should wait for the target to be revealed, but
well,
yeah, any information about how to distinguish AOL versus actual information on
sure.
the target.
It sounds like Astral gave us a go ahead, and I'll try to do a quick summary. So every remote viewer, after even decades, struggles with the differentiation between AOL and accurate data. So that anxiety is real, and it just the way to really temper that is, first of all, literally get rid of any urge you have to be right. So at that point, you're not really worried about differentiating. Is this true? Is it not true? Is it wrong? Am I wrong? So get rid of that. Just literally let the data flow. Let it flow naturally. The structure is set up so that in stage 2, it's only adjectives. So anything that comes in, that's a noun, a mental image picture, or a thought, you just put that as AOL. It may turn out later to be correct for sure. Um, and if it does, it'll persist, and eventually it'll emerge in your stage 4. So relax about it. Be certain that you will eventually be wrong. I mean, there are sessions I sent off to project managers that I was horrified to even scan and send. And there's times you're going to bomb. Like there's times where I was so far off the target, it's just humiliating or embarrassing. So you just accept it. Sometimes you'll have an excellent session, sometimes you'll have a terrible session, but usually you'll be in the middle, contribute some good data, and usually you're working in a team. So the collaboration of the team, everybody kind of tends to fill in the data for each other. So relaxing is the key. And then one other little tiny tip, AOL tends to be kind of loud and intrusive, whereas after a while, you'll get the sense of that more quieter, subtle. So in training with my trainer, if you get a super bright still picture of a castle, that most likely could probably go in the AOL category. But if you get a faint image of like something that looks like a castle, and the other thing with the real stuff is there tends to be motion in it, and the false mental image pictures tend to be frozen pictures. But that's the purpose of getting feedback immediately, um, is that in retrospect, you'll go, oh, I was right about that. Then remember, what did that feel like when it came in? Or you say, I was wrong about that. And then in retrospect, again, remember what that felt like. That's the only way. And that's why Ingo wanted feedback to be immediate, at least for training purposes. So hopefully that helps. I'll be quiet now, and I'm excited to see the feedback too.
That was really, really helpful. Thank you so much for going through that. I feel like I really, really understand it. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I'm about to post a target. Sorry, nobody went over to Taylor. Taylor, what's up? Go ahead, and then I'll post the target.
Right on. So I wanted to ask if anyone has any experiences with Randonautica. So this is an app that, like the Global Consciousness Project, this app uses a quantum number generator, not on your phone. It uses somebody else's servers, and you're supposed to set an intent, and then you basically ping the quantum number generator, and it gives you a coordinate within a couple miles of your location. And so then you visit the location and you see if it matches up with your intent. And so this has been going on for a couple of years. A lot of people have had great experiences with it. The subreddit is full of individual stories, and I think if you're experimenting with the remote viewing, I think you'll probably have a lot of fun with combining those two things together, possibly. So
We had the actual developer, one of the developers of the project. His name was Three. I don't know if some people might remember his name, but his name was Three. He was one of actually the developers of that, and it kind of went viral because like some high schoolers went looking for like dead bodies or like some shit where like they would go out to like the locations. So it's not exactly the best app to go out, but it was kind of funny to see it. And then the use of random number generators in terms of like and just what we've been talking about in the space from the movie Monsters of California, of some way to like predict a paranormal or UAP event happening. Like it, I feel like there's enough data and AI capabilities right now to be able to predict something like hotspots or something to be able to happen, where we would be able to monitor it happening.
Hey, so I just posted something up in the nest. We were talking about neuroplasticity earlier, right? And one of the things I was reading in this paper, it's a double-edged sword. With a benign therapeutic environment, it's a great thing, right? And if you have a stressful environment, it can lead to disorders and mental health issues. So I'm curious if an environment can be tailored to exponentially, you know, do that, right? Because you get both of those others by just being that, right? I have a feeling that that should be able, I mean, there's got to be an environment that increases it exponentially, is what I'm thinking. It just, especially the way you talk about it. I wonder if anybody ever does studies for things like that, which that would sound like an MK Ultra study, to be honest.
Maybe with adding somatics to it, like with the frequency thing, because that literally has an
Yep,
effect
you're
on
picking up what
that.
I'm putting down. So basically, setting your environment up, putting elf, figuring out something that increases this exponentially. Because I actually heard about a device that it allows you to use more of your brain, and it makes me curious if it's something to do with this, right? And supposedly at the top, this is part of the reverse engineered tech stuff they got from the tech, right? That for I think in the 50s or 60s, you know, company executives, all kinds of people that were running the bank, owning the banks and everything were getting it done. That were, I guess, adjacent to the people inside the Majestic 12 programs, or I should say the Council of Foreign Relations, probably. But I'm really curious if we actually have programs or a device that is tailored, and that's what they're doing. It's hyper, and I guess growing it exponentially. Sorry, I went off a tangent. It just had me thinking about that. The reason I thought about that is Like example, let's say you are going through neuroplasticity, right? You're in a moment when your brain's trying to fix itself, heal itself, and you have the other two off the table, but you're somehow thrown in an environment that nurtures it, that makes you want to do these things that increases it exponentially. I wonder if that's also a thing that just happens. God, that's got me thinking, man, so much. I'm saying that because I'm brain damaged, and sometimes I think I'm not brain damaged.
One second. Hey, Ray, I put that in the chat for you. So it says coordinate remote viewing stages 1 through 6 and beyond, February 1985. Those were the notes Tom McNear were asked to write after his 3 years of the training. And then, like I said, his other students all got together, and then Ingo ended up writing a very nice letter endorsing and thanking them for creating the CRV manual. But this is the precursor to it. So there you go.
Hey, I revealed the target. It's up above. I'm going to go through some of the submissions that were sent in. I appreciate everybody who sent in submissions. So I'm going to post some of the better ones and some of the more interesting ones up above. If anybody tried it and want to come up and just discuss their interpretations or their methods, feel free to do so. Just, it's a kind of a open space to do that. But I'm gonna go ahead and do that, Shane. If you want to take over for a little bit, I'm gonna post some of the cool ones.
Cool. Was it just another son who was up, or is it? Okay. Go
I
ahead.
don't know who's up.
Go ahead.
Is it me?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I've been around products and like certain frequencies that I have felt like my intuition has been improved because of it.
Look, I asked that hoping for something like that because again, I remember listening to B kind of hypothetically talk about like let's say when I started having my experience in Yakima Valley, being these interacting with these orbs, whatever the heck it is I'm continuously seeing, is could there be an activation somewhere in there somewhere? I only mention that it sounds crazy because I didn't start going through this neuroplasty, these Peter tingles, right? Till my experience happened. And yeah, now I don't know, maybe I was always this way, but whatever this way is.
There was one product that I worked on specifically, and like I've talked about this in Astral Spaces before, but like I've had an encounter, an experience with like Havana syndrome, I think at least. And after that, I did have my first and only ever telepathic connection to one of my coworkers that like I was able to verify with the people that were walking around us, like, hey, did you just hear him say that?
All right, now I know who you are. So check this out. Did you use our synthetic telepathy program? Were you part of that?
No, not intentionally.
Oh, not intentionally. Okay. So adjacent maybe somewhere. Or you said the Havana syndrome. The only reason I asked you that because side effects for this synthetic telepathy program mirror Havana. That's why I asked you. That's kind of what Scott Andrews talks about, in my opinion, who's also a Space Kid Star Kid. Are you a Space Kid Star Kid?
I think so, yeah.
I knew it. I fucking knew it. How old are you? Can I ask if you don't mind?
Oh my gosh, I have no idea. The only inclination that I have would be like Arcturian though. I've posted my video in here before, but like I have a crazy video of this orb that like showed up on my infrared cameras and it like smashes into my door, but I had an iron door knocker and it's like once it touched it, it couldn't go through. It's some wild shit. And I was able to establish communication with it.
Right on. Let me ask you one more question before we get over the Ray. So, do you remember when you were a kid, were you ever in gifted classes that were exceptionally
Yes.
gifted? Okay. And then throughout your life, have you been excelling through different careers and just seem like you're in great spots?
Yes.
I mean, you're putting in the effort, obviously, but okay, thanks. Go ahead, Ray.
No, you can keep talking.
Okay. Well, sorry, I kind of let's see. So, you don't happen to remember the name of any of the any of your teachers or any doctors, do you? None of them were named Walter Breen.
Nope.
Okay, cool. You never ran into Jack Safardi, did you?
Nope. I'm a 32-year-old in the Midwest.
Okay.
I have not experienced anything except for like spooky stuff my whole life. I can see magnetic fields. I can see shadows and ghosts sometimes. I can be a medium. Um, I've had a severe concussion. Yeah,
Are you an indigo child? Do you know?
I think so.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think Ray was next, and then we'll get over to Jamie, though.
I mean, I'm here to talk about the target. Um, so I mean, I I was way off with some things, but I think I got some actual features of like that I drew. Like I didn't really get any of the sensory input this week, but I really did have a really hard time finding the sweet spot, like that I've described in previous weeks. So I was perceiving like a white light, like or a flash. Uh, During one of my passes, and that kind of checks out with the top of the fountain. And then I got the features of the levels of the fountain, and then I got a curved feature on the side. And then I also drew arrows. I mean, one of them is going down. So that could indicate, the water flowing. I don't know. Definitely not one of my better weeks, but, could have been worse. Happy to be here.
Go ahead, Jamie.
Yes, I was just curious if you were suggesting that the gifted classes some of us went to when we were in elementary school or whatever has something to do with these programs that you're talking about.
Yeah, I was suggesting that. I mean, I can't guarantee that, but imagine during the 80s, because an indigo child is someone, I think, 1978 and on. During the 80s, I know they were looking for these kids because UCLA did a study to follow a study that was done by China, who was basically saying, there's something unique about indigo children. And, if you ask me, I think that's what John Ramirez is kind of talking about with the hybridization. And some of them got a little more tweak. And maybe this is the other thing. Those individuals are the targeted individuals that the CIA is often looking after. And there's a reason, because those individuals can communicate freely. They've been activated in a way, right? So they also search for those individuals to utilize in programs. David Grush talks about communication and treaties. Project Preserve Destiny, Dan Sherman, Scott Andrews, which is the USAF and the NASA space kids, right? They're just communication programs. And then they wipe their brains. So is this communication? This is the reason I brought this up earlier. We have a form of synthetic telepathy. And what that uses is, wait, was it photons or neutrinos? Can't remember now. But the after effects mimic Havana. So we've had these programs designed to communicate telepathically. And matter of fact, I think B is the one. Can you post that information in here? You're the one that showed the papers, right? Stuff like that. So that's why I'm asking these questions, guys. It's pretty good stuff. And yeah, I do believe some of those classes we went to and those challenges for president were probably tests for the new X-Men, huh? I know it sounds wild, but evolution. And this is a topic you got to be careful about talking about. And I'll say this one time because a lot of times people can misconstrue that you're saying one group's better than another. And I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is evolution's happening. In that process, some evolved first. That's what I'm saying. And in that group is a whole mix, right? So before we move around, you know what your blood type is? Just another son? I'm going to know more about her than anybody like writing a book.
I think it's A positive.
All right, that doesn't matter. Still be in the blood. So RH factor negative is what we're looking for. But it was explained to me as well that, obviously going down the line that it could be a, wait, go ahead, G, you were going to correct me on it, weren't you? Hey, what trait?
I am the RH negative recessive trait.
Thank you very much. And most of the time, guys, what you're hearing is my brain goes so fast sometimes my words can't keep up. And so I lose things. And that's my ADHD. And it's wild. But it helps me sometimes. Sometimes it's a superpower. What's up, Jamie?
You said 78 and newer versions of humans, right? Is that what?
Well, no,
I'll
I'm
have
not
to look
saying
it
it
up.
that way. I'm saying indigo children or like 78 and on. I'm sure it's been longer than that, right? I'm sure that aliens didn't just start tinkering in 78, but I'm just saying that's what I've read, right? This is all stuff that's obviously out there. You can go read yourself and it can change. So that's why I'm asking these questions. Helps me go other places and, I guess develop a better hypothesis, see what's going on. G or Ray?
Can I just go real quick because it's about
Go
G?
ahead.
G, did you just get here? Was the last time you spoke the first time you spoke this space? Can
Hi. No, he just actually asked because in the last space, we just
well, no,
shortly spoke
I'm
about
just
that.
wondering real quick. I if did you have you been did okay?
I've
Because
been
I was just
listening.
wondering. I just said out loud a few minutes ago. I wonder where G is this week, and then I was just in
No, she
your
just
on.
came up, I think.
Okay, because I was just on your page looking in your replies to see if you submitted did a submission this week, and I saw that you it looks like you got some hits. So that was weird as hell because then I heard your voice right as I found your submission. All right, cool. Sorry to cut you off.
And that's the reason I asked you to say that, G. I remember you corrected me last week, and I was about to mess it up again. That's why I even asked you. Go ahead, G.
Thank you. No, not a problem. I'm always happy to help. And I have looked into that very specifically. So, because I am Rh negative, and so I really looked into it. I just coincidentally, I also, was able to obtain like the what do you call it the my mind. I've had a headache the past couple of days. I was just able to trace that we go back to Spain and that we have a very large portion of Spanish blood. And so it explained it because I always wondered, you know, how is it that, that I'm Rh negative and some of my other siblings are not. And so, I went down that little rabbit hole as well. But I actually was here to just talk about the target and this actual past week. I know that Buddy and someone else has um, just suggested the I think it's called ESP trainer, and also there's also a Stargate ESP trainer. And so since I was, really new to this and discovered it in April on the spaces, um, I've always wanted to, try to just train a little bit more. So I actually was doing that this past week, and I found that um, on most days that I did do like really, really good. And but there were just like the past couple of days that I had a really bad headache, and so I really was not able to like concentrate. So I didn't really think that I would have any hits on the target, but luckily I did. I felt like I did. Um, I had like a really crazy little drawing up on the left hand top corner, and I just saw like a lot of moving parts. I saw dots or circles or specks. That's what I wrote. I wasn't really sure what it was, but it was a real busy um, picture that kept coming to me. And so I see that in the water, you don't see the water flowing just like long drops. It seems like there's a lot of motion and creating like a lot of little weird shapes um, coming down from the fountain. And I did indicate that I smelled something like plants or nature. I just thought to myself, with the overwhelming smell, that possibly it could be like a garden or a forest. And I do I do see that the place would have like a natural, smell like that. And I do see that in the background that there are trees. I did indicate that I just saw something either cloudy, dim, or low light, or dark. So I kind of feel like I got that there. I did have like a kind of like a half triangle, and I really couldn't see like a clear picture, but that was one of the things that I kept seeing, but there were just so many images. So I just drew that. And then I drew three like three lines across. They were shaded, but I felt like I wrote down that I felt blocked. So I just saw like three layers of either they I didn't know what they look like, but they just look like shaded across, and I see that the fountain has three layers of it. So I kind of feel I do feel really good about this, and I'm happy because I really thought that I was not going to do well at all. Just really quickly, I just wanted to say that the ESP trainer is like it is super like I wouldn't think that it would be helpful, but it actually is because they're just random. um you have to guess the picture behind the block, and they're just so random, but um I've gotten like I think like four at a time, and it gives you like this little like a little ping, and it's like a vibrational ping. And so it talks about that too, that when you kind of like get the target correctly, that it'll like to remember how it feels. And it has helped me in regards to when I'm kind of just like off. I feel that that I'm very distracted, and when I'm off, I'm just like completely off. But I mean, I do try to concentrate, so the majority of the time it is good. And the other one is one that has pictures, and it also asks you to describe, what's in the setting. So those are like back to back, 12 per session or game. And those are very intriguing too. So I would definitely recommend that for anybody. I feel like it's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you as always, G. I appreciate it. So, hey, by the way, guys, I went ahead and put in the nest and in the thread down there, right? Garrett, Tiny Klaus, UFO Twitter spam, right? They got literally the best fucking podcast out, period. Beats mine by far. Actually, if I could do a podcast that was good, it'd be that. So that's the kind of shit I like, right? People talking about things that may seem, how do you say it, abstract in a way, but patterns tell stories. You start piecing puzzles together this way, not by going over the same old shit. So check it out. It's literally, I'm not messing with you, the best podcast currently right now. So do that. Heather, go ahead.
What's up, guys? I won't take up much of your time. Most people know I'm not very well versed when it comes to remote viewing, and I've only had very minimal success when it comes to Astral's challenges. But tonight, my attempt, because Guy told me to stop saying the word guess, because that's wrong. So I'm trying to remember. Guess is not the right word to say. So my attempt tonight, I saw lots of circles or partial circles, and that's all I wrote. I just commented lots of circles or partial circles. I didn't draw anything. Like I see a bunch of fancy little scribbles up top. I didn't do anything like that. G, I see yours. That is on point. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with my attempt today, just because I saw a bunch of circles. And I was joking with my cousin about it beforehand, And I was like, watch, I'm gonna be totally wrong, right? And he's in the middle of playing Warzone. And then I saw Astral posted the target. I was like, holy crap! I was like, oh my god, I actually did decent.
I think that's how it starts. Like, somebody commented earlier that they were really apprehensive about posting their submission, and people have DM'd me, so it's totally cool if you just like send it out or take a picture or screenshot of your time. But I think a lot of the time, like, it's personal confirmation. It's not like clout type of shit where you post it and like you can brag. I think a lot of this stuff is just like personal experience where you're really discovering this and curious for yourself, and there's an actual avenue to do it. Like, it's not for like sharing your posts and all that. To me, it's just a way to like test it. And I think that's where I get enjoyment of like people who are trying it for the first time, and they're like, oh shit, like there's actually something to this. Like, like I didn't get exactly the target, but I got a lot of elements, and I'm gonna explore it further. So that's the type of stuff that I like hearing about. So thanks, Heather. I appreciate that.
Let's get over to
Taylor, what's
Trev.
up?
Yeah, so this is my first attempt at the remote viewing, and I'm pretty new to these spaces, so I'm excited to be here. But so after I got home from work, I was chilling out, listening to some ASMR, thinking about the space later, and I wasn't thinking too hard about the space. I wasn't even trying to accomplish the remote viewing task. But as I was just laying down, I did get a visual perception, and it was what I wrote was a four-sided pyramid with a sphere on top, and the color blue. So that was my submission. And so when I see the photo, let's see. So obviously it has a pyramid-like shape because you have the large base, going up to the peak at the top, and it does have that sphere on the top. However, the visual that I got was very brief, and I wasn't able to hold it for very long and explore. But the sphere was definitely much bigger in my mind. Uh, Almost think of like if the sphere was as large as that top level, closer to that amount. Um, and then I don't know. I guess the water, or I guess my abstract is that maybe I saw the geometry similar in the shape, but not necessarily the element itself. So that was my experience. Also, I wanted to point out somebody else drew a submission, and it actually looked closer to what I saw. They had a sphere on top, and they had what looked like a pyramid, but they didn't draw the lines like going up the side to differentiate each side of the pyramid. So I thought that was interesting that somebody else had that same kind of geometric perception that I had had.
Go ahead, G.
Hey guys, thank you. I was just gonna say, well, I hope that you guys do not get tired of me posting or reposting my submissions because I don't have anybody else to share this with.
Hell no. Keep bringing it in
Um,
here. That's what we're here for. 100%. Don't ever
so
think that in these rooms.
yeah, I actually started, um, I think it was like when Astral had his anniversary because I started going back through all of them and, to check what the targeted photo was and what my submission was and started to see like, hey, I had been keeping track and I saw like an improvement, good accuracy, even if it's just part of the target, it's still, a hit on the target. And so just thought to myself, I should really start posting this because I'm doing pretty good. So, yes, I don't have anybody else to share this with. So, this is kind of like my space. And I am going to start reposting those. But thank you.
Hey, keep doing it because actually, most of us don't have a place we can come and be weird like this, right? We can't really go to the bar and do this. I mean, I guess you can, but promise you it's not
Yo,
going to turn out like you think.
yo,
You
one
could
of
come
the
to the
things I
bar I
wanted
work at.
to talk about is this thing of beginner's luck, because I just posted up above somebody who tried it for the very first time and did a really good job. I do feel like there's sort of an aspect of that where if you're trying it for the first time, you're really engaged, you're genuinely curious about, trying this, that you do have a, for relative purposes, like a good submission for the first time.
I think mine was because I didn't know what I was doing, so I really wasn't trying. So my first time was my best. The rest, I was trying to be a pro, and I sucked.
Yeah, Astral, that's a good point. In the remote viewing world, it's called the first timers effect. And it's very, very prominent. Part of the theory, or theories, if you will, is that your analytical mind hasn't built up a defense against doing it. So many times when people are like, well, what do I have in my hand, or what's the room, do a session and prove it to me. The best way, and technically the only way, is to have that person do a session themselves, and the first timer effect will kick in, and they will be able to know they only received, like your code hashtag and the number, or a regular target reference number. They know in their heart that's all they got, and then they saw their product. So that first timer effect is really fascinating. I've trained quite a few people. I've had people name the target, like one in particular. The target that I had hidden in the envelope was Machu Picchu, and the person had never done a session before. They're kind of doing just a loose format, and all of a sudden they go, "Oh, this is Machu Picchu." And I'm like, how did you know? It's like, I don't even know. It just came to my mind. So yeah, the first timer effect is really a fascinating thing. And then if anybody does look at that Tom McNear document, you will see on page what page? Page 5, he talks about the spontaneous first time effects. Then, unfortunately, when you're in training, you hit the decline effect, and you will suddenly go way down. And he actually charts this out, or graphs this out, where he calls the spontaneous first time effects, then the decline effect, then the learning phase, and then your
And then
skill.
at the very end, you get a little boost of motivation. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you get your skill plateau established. But yeah, that one where the woman literally drew the fountain, that that's an amazing session there.
What's up, Ray?
So I don't know if this is a thing, but my first time joining a remote viewing space, so I attempted the target ahead of time. I knew I had no idea what I was doing, other than I was just like trying to imagine or guess a picture that was in an envelope, and and I submitted a picture. My submission was a barn, the number 3, and a candle. And my first space was, all I remember was that, so I got nothing about the target, but I got information about the space. So that was a space where that person that you mentioned earlier, 3, his cat was missing, and his cat's name was Barney. And so I felt like my mind was blown, because I was like, what the fuck? Like, I submitted like like a drawing of a barn, the number 3, and like, I mean, not to be dark, but like a candle, his cat's missing. So I don't know if that's like a thing, or if that was, I mean, I don't really believe in coincidences all that much, but is it possible to get information about like where you're going to attempt the target for the first time, or something like that?
I heard someone else talk about that before. They smelled when they were doing their attempt, they could smell smoke, or like a cigarette. And then it was Alien Protocols smoking a cigarette.
Oh, that was G, right? G. Yeah, so I don't know if like that was like a first time effect in a weird way, and I'm kind of nervous. Like I hope I'm not on the decline right now because I feel like I just decided a few minutes ago I'm gonna start going into like start learning more, um, but I don't know. I think it's really interesting, and that progression does kind of make sense, right? Yeah, I don't know.
Go ahead, G.
That makes sense to me. I mean, you're opening your mind, even though you don't really, when you first start doing it, not that I'm super experienced or anything, but like you're opening your mind, you're trying to tune into something, but you just happen to tune in, not necessarily to the target, but the room, right? It just kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah, that's actually very common. Like it's like if I say I want to look out my window and see only the grass, that's not going to happen. I'm going to see the trees, the fence, the other houses. I may try to focus on the grass, but if anything moves, catches my attention, is something I'm interested in, my session's going to go toward that. Ingo talks about this in an interview with Art Bell. Once you start to train your perceptual system, you're going to pick up all kinds of other things. And we had a weird thing in one class where a guy was like drinking a pomegranate drink, and the instructor at that time was doing a demonstration session for the class. He burped a little, not the instructor, but the guy drinking the drink. And all of a sudden, the instructor stopped, looked around, and he's like, AOL pomegranate? He goes, in 40 years of doing this, I've never had the word pomegranate enter a session. In terms of the cat thing, if you love animals and there's a cat missing, that's where your heart or your attention might draw you. And that's part of the training, is just to learn. And that's why they call it controlled remote viewing. So these other things, seeing the room, smelling smoke, smelling pomegranate, detecting the idea there's a missing cat. Those are all completely normal phenomena.
Okay, now I understand AOL like even more given that example because yeah, I'm an animal lover. So yeah, thank you for explaining that even more. Sorry, Jay, I know you've had your hand up.
Go ahead, G.
Not a problem. I always love the whole conversation. I was just gonna just 2 points. One, Ray, that ESP trainer, the one with the colored blocks, that one is like super helpful because when I'm looking and it's like continuous. So I have found that a lot of times I'm looking and I can sense one of the colored blocks, but I don't choose it, and instead I might choose another one. And then it tells you which one it was. And there's a good portion of the time when I get them, when I don't get them correct and I get them wrong, that I'm actually going with like maybe not really going with my gut, but my first intuition was the one that was actually right, but I did not choose it. So I feel like that, even though it's very simple, it's kind of like helping me, and it's only been a few days, but it's kind of like helping me how to tone into like what I'm missing and what I should be paying attention to when I get that feeling. So just wanted to mention that. Um, and then also that experience with Buddy, it was like so intense. And I think I've had a few with him that when he's provided guided instructions, because I feel like that I almost kind of connect with him. Like he had such a powerful, you know, I guess I would just say soul, because on most times I would always sense something very powerful about him, and he was always correct on things. I won't say like always, because I didn't spend a lot of time, but I would say that he's really good at what he does. And so I kind of felt that kind of made me stronger, because I tapped into him, into that he was, you know, that he was channeling out. So I kind of like tapped into it. And once even that he was talking about the word heal, and then it was just like it was amplified, like it was, like it went ding, and it was just like the word was amplified, and I had a really bad headache, and almost in an instant it was gone, which was kind of crazy, but I felt like I had tapped into whatever he was, exhibiting or throwing out to us. So anyways, yes, that one particular time, um, I thought that I was completely off with the guided instructions, but because I kept smelling smoke and I actually drew a cigarette and at the top I wrote Liberty. And so I know that he's in New York, so Statue of Liberty. Um, so yeah, that was a crazy but really awesome experience. Thank you.
Go ahead, Enos.
Yeah, I know, gee, I kind of know what you're saying. Were you referring to Alien Protocols? Is that who you were speaking about?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I felt a little bit drawn to him as well. And I found it coincidental that I randomly came across him in a space when I first came on UFO Twitter. I think I was in like Kimball's space or something like that because I have watched Linda Moulton Howe for like ever, and followed her work. And she has him on to do remote viewing sometimes. So I like kind of was familiar with him. But anyways, I hope he's doing well. I've been thinking about him on and off for the past couple of days or last week or so. And yeah, I just wanted to say I hope he's doing okay. And then the only other thing, I had posted in the comments another option for remote viewing practice. It's called PSI Arcade. It's an actual website, it's not an app. And I was wondering if anybody else is familiar with that. And two, I don't understand if somebody else is familiar with that. There's one exercise that is like it has you take a few breaths, calm down, relax your mind, and then it has like the circular bubbles. It's like small bubbles. It looks like you know what that is. I don't really understand. Is that like an intent? Is that like doing something with your intent? Thank you. If you could let me know.
Absolutely, yeah. That's actually instigated. That's used through the Institute of Noetic Sciences and their
I thought it
open
was
research
ions,
hall.
right?
Yeah, this
Yeah.
IRP, and that is a miniature, uh, well, the bio PK example, and you're focusing it's on the machine to because it's really just a fancy number generator, and it's sitting out code, and your intention is changing that code, and it's reading how much it fluctuates from the average cycle that it would do, and you're able to get the lifetime feedback from those.
Wow, thank you. Did you say bio PK? Is that what you had said? Just so I know the keyword.
Yeah, macro or micro, one of the two. I get them backwards.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Okay, real quick, could someone help me with protocol? I didn't realize there was hand raising, and I'm looking all over and I don't see. How do you raise your hand?
Well, it's too late. You're banned from these spaces permanently now, man. No,
Oh
you're good. Don't
man!
even sweat it, dude.
Like,
So
is it an eternal ban or just a
no,
lifetime
if you
ban?
look down at the bottom of your phone, you'll see like a little heart with a plus. If you click on it,
Okay, I
to
don't
the
have a
right.
phone. I'm on a PC.
Oh, how are you doing this on a PC?
Oh,
They
they can do it on PC now, but you can't raise your hand on PC. So I
Oh, I didn't
noticed a
know
lot
that.
of people on
Okay.
PC are waving
Okay, then
when
just
they
do.
want
oh
to talk.
Yeah, I
okay.
guess.
So yeah, because I didn't mean to be rude. I thought we were just going back and forth. So since I'm on PC and I can't raise my hand, so the little thing in the bottom right corner of the emojis is it says waving hand. You just click that.
Yeah, and that we'll know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're not being rude. I mean, you were in here earlier when I turned into the master dickhead, right? So you're not being rude. You're being cool. We get it. You didn't know, no big deal. I mean,
Yeah,
even if
there's
you talk
only
out, as long as you're not stepping on people, that's the biggest thing.
yeah, no, I didn't mean to. So yeah, this is only the second time I've spoken to space. I listened for a long time, until they made it to PC. So then I spoke, I don't know, a week or two ago with Astral here. I like this space a lot. So, anyways, okay, I'll use the little hand wave thing. Thank you.
Right on. And so, look, we lost our star kid. So, if you guys know any star kids, tell them holler. Because what you saw was, for some reason, and I don't know why, but the only normal I feel is when I kick in the mode like that. You saw that. That's how I feel. That's exactly what my niche is, right? Those questions. Immediately, I was curious. As soon as she said certain things, the best I've felt in a little bit, and then gone. I'm like, oh shit, back to feeling dead again, bored. I don't know what the fuck's wrong with me that I'm obsessed with these star kids, indigo children.
I like that the Sci arcade though that you were talking about earlier, Emus and because it's an actual way to be able to like gauge and test your psychic phenomenon, even with the Russell Targ thing. And I think that's what the challenge is like using technology, whether it's AI or applications, mobile applications, to be able to test psychic phenomenon. And it's so stuck in the past, like all of this stuff, that it just needs somebody, developers, whether it's app developers or people that are into the science of it, of like ways to test this stuff, that will get people's attention. Like that's what's really needed. So somebody was talking about Dean Radin and Avi Loeb. Like I am so looking forward to that conversation, because Avi Loeb is somebody who like feels like they're trying to get like, physical data or like collect data that actually shows some sort of like extraterrestrial influence or like presence here on Earth. And then Dean Radin is a lot more to like the non-physical observer effect consciousness. He's one of the I feel like he's to me he's like the next Einstein. But I think like he's somebody who's studying actively the consciousness role, in topic a lot. So B, what do you think?
I think he's our reality's version of Dumbledore myself. It's pretty cool. Um, but his talk with Abby is this weekend. I think it's tomorrow. Actually, and the one of the best things that I love about ions is we've heard Nolan reference a couple of different occasions about Dean Radin. Well, Dean Radin, even the open research call that they have, you can upload images if you have MRI images of your brain. You can upload those into there, and they are taking that into consideration with your test results as well. So they're absolutely up in the game on that one.
By the way, guys, if you haven't yet, retweet the space. I have dropped the ball. We kind of got going with the whole elf waves and we just kind of went off from there. So all these speakers, co-hosts, hosts, give them a follow. Retweet the space. That's all we ask, right? We have these conversations, and actually they're normally just like this, right? Every now and again I pop off because I get upset, right? I can be an asshole. But it's because I like to talk about this subject and not the bullshit that's out there in the world on TV and stuff right now, because we can always go do that. So thank you guys for being here too. Just retweet this, man. I really appreciate it. So, Astral, how long are you gonna have this open?
Yeah, we'll keep it going, man. I keep it going for like 30 or 40 more minutes, man. I'm chilling. I ain't got shit to do. I saw Lynn jumped up here. What's up? Oh.
She thinks of you like I do, Astral.
I think I was attempting the target whenever you popped off, Shane. So I missed whatever that was.
Some good
You're
submissions
fortunate.
this week. I've shared a lot so far, and I haven't even gone through, I feel like, half of the submissions. So
And I do apologize because I don't like to get that way. But again, this is my one respite from the shit world, right? To try to answer my questions. It's not like I can go to college for this, right? So this is where I get pieces and try to figure my own question. I'll answer my own shit as much as I can because there's no other answers. Just know that. I'm your pro. You're screwed.
you can't get a degree in this. That's the problem. Like, there's no way to
No, there
really be
isn't.
educated in this topic.
Think about that. And that's insane. The amount of materials out there, including the fact that we're not even taking proper scientific papers and stuff yet, but there's still material out there, right? And the reason I think we're so far behind is not knocking the Garretts, the Klauses, and the me's, but again, we're running uphill. You know, you're digging in your own pockets. You're putting your own money into it. That's all the only way this works. So that's why the grifter thing bothers me a lot too, because there's a couple that can actually be called that technically, but I can promise you, he's made more for coffee than I've had. Period. It's not a complaint, but it's like I don't. The self awareness there used to get me right. So guys, keep doing this shit. It's important we're in here talking about it. Actually, sometimes maybe it's just me being mental. I think some of you guys are pieces of my puzzle. When you say things and it triggers my brain, it makes me remember something. That's why I like these conversations in rooms. And it's not as crazy as it sounds. I prefer to talk with you than at you because I learn a shitload.
Really quick, I want to say, I think, can't you still get a job doing remote viewing? You don't think the government still needs a few people?
Oh, not me. The government maybe use me for something else. Not that.
I think it's tough to like, you have to be totally within right now. Like, they're not gonna go outside. Like, look at
Yeah,
Yuri
you're
Geller.
talking about being in the military already.
Yeah, like in the program, it like that was one of the things that I would love to know is what like they had their criteria of what they were looking for, like
And
what they
Ross
found.
Colcart
Oh,
just said that, didn't he?
Indigo. Indigo. Look, that's what I'm getting at. B just said it too. She messaged me the same time I thought the fucking thing. No shit. So check it out. Project Preserve Destinies, Scott Andrews, the Star Kids, Space Kids. All of these are that, right? Those are the minimal requirements. And that's one of the things that I was reading. Dan Sherman talks about they got basically a running list of these individuals. Like the communicators get these lists so that the government knows to track and get them
What's
working
the
with them.
criteria though? Like, what were they looking for exactly?
What I'm saying is, I think they know in advance, like without telling you, like you join the military, you're getting treated like everything's normal, but then you get a paper like, hey, you're exceptional at this. We're going to put you over here. You don't know you're indigo or that you have that minimal standard, right? That's how Dan Sherman explains it. They later tell him he was tweaked and this and that. So I think they know before you do. And then next thing you know, you're doing these programs.
So there was just a really interesting podcast about Dan Sherman and what is it called? Above Top Secret or Above Black or something like that.
Yes, above
Where,
black.
yep, he
Or
goes through
Project
his whole
Preserve Destiny
story.
above black. Yes.
Yes, and they go through his whole story. It wasn't Liminal Frames, it was the other
Project
one.
Camelot.
No. Exo Academian. What's his other
Yeah, I know what you're
podcast?
talking about.
Okay, so that, like, just a couple weeks ago, they talked all about how they knew in advance. They monitored his mother because she had had an encounter, and then she was pregnant with him, and they knew that he was coming. They and in the they cover all of it. And in the 1960s, this went on, and they knew that a certain percentage of these individuals who were going to have these basically extra consciousness, psi abilities, precog, all of that, they knew that a certain percentage of those individuals were going to end up in the military, just statistically. So they followed them. This Dan Sherman was one of those people, and his whole story is wild. And somebody shared with I did buy a copy of the book. It's pretty short. His book that he put out in like 96 or early 2000s. It was a while back. And there is a free copy of it. I'm going to go find it and I'll post it because it's fascinating.
There's a free copy of it on IndieBay, actually. Matter of fact, it's funny too because just mentioned Exo Academian. I think we all talk to the same people. Look, I'm going to say this now. A bunch of us got Project Preserve Destiny. You better figure that shit out. I think around the same time. And we're all, because that's about the time frame that David came out with Contact and these treaties. So that's what, and if you think about it, what is Project Preserve Destiny? Essentially another program that's exactly like the book that Scott Andrews is going to write, if you ask me. And that Star Kid that was in here earlier, I was going to ask if she'd ever had any Roland mnemonic dialogues of, I don't know, schematics or something that she thought she was supposed to create. Because that's another reason the government follow these individuals. Because not only do they have contact and connections, they have gifts. And those gifts tend to be things like Jackson Party and his ability to say he's going to create a time travel machine. I'm just using it as an example, right? Some of these individuals are given that, and it scares the government. I've talked to 3 now, all with different ones.
Astral, I didn't mean to interrupt you before when you were speaking. I apologize, but I got all excited because didn't Ross Coulthart just make a statement a couple days ago about how, was it like the military, like they're struggling to find people that are qualified to work with this technology? And basically what I read from that, like what I got was they're struggling, like the military or, you know, the intelligence, whoever's in charge, right? Um, to find people that have the precog or the consciousness and stuff like that, because only certain individuals are able to work with it. And that all tracks completely with like the Secret Machines books and the story that goes in the that goes down in the fiction books. It's interesting to connect the dots.
And the DNA test you get when you join the military. So was it Lynn or Ray?
Lynn was first.
Hey, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes,
Yeah?
ma'am.
Yes.
Awesome. Cool. Ray's gonna have a lot more eloquent things to say than myself, but I do want to say that every time I get on these spaces, especially when Astral is hosting, there's such a reprieve. They really are from what else is going on. They just seem higher level and they seem like we're talking about stuff that feels like it's more important than what's going on. And it's such a relief. And I really do want to say thank you again, wholeheartedly, with my whole heart, to everybody that's here and for Astral for hosting and for Old Vet for being here and everybody else in the space, because it makes a difference. It does. When you can get on the space and hear it tends to follow the same topic. Like you guys are really good at staying on point. Um, it feels so good in a time when X can be overwhelming and you can't get away from the tragedy of the day. But this kind of space, Astral, I commend you for keeping it on point. It's like, I'm going to join Astral Space, and he's not going off onto these other things. He's just keeping it cool. He's keeping it to the stuff that matters. And it's such a reprieve. It's such a relief. I love you guys. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Actually, and that's why yes, I apologize, but that's why I actually popped off a bit earlier, because I had people that DM me, and they specifically said about sometimes they leave spaces when shit gets out of hand and people start. So I try to prevent that, even though I'm the one yelling there earlier. So I do apologize for it, but we want to keep them doing what we've been doing. This has been a freaking awesome space. So Ray, go ahead.
Hi, Lynn. So first of all, spaces are really fucking hard, oftentimes, and a lot of people are triggering, and we're all human, and everything's all good. So again, I don't know what happened, but I kind of connected the dots based off what you said. But yeah, so Heather brought up something that triggered an interesting thought. Heather mentioned about RV jobs for the government, and I thought like that would terrify me to have a job like that. But then I remembered that you work in a team, and that's really comforting. And then also I realized like I would never be able to work for the government. I had never passed like a security clearance or a background check like that of that caliber. But um, I'm just wondering, that we do have like a lot of people who consistently submit stuff and get, certain aspects. Like I was just creeping to see if Dune submitted anything, and he drew like the exact tree that's in the background. And so I think it might be interesting if we tried like a team approach to see if how many aspects we can get of a target 1 week. Like Tiff gets really close a lot of times too, and G, and Buddy, I don't know where Buddy is, And I hope he's well. I don't know who else submits consistently, but I think it might be interesting to just see.
I think a judging aspect is the next step. Like that's really what I'm developing, is some way to be able to judge the submission to where you're able to gauge statistically where you're at. So you can compare it to chance, and a lot of the times you're going to be, if it's psychic testing, you're comparing it to what chance would be to if you were guessing what it actually was. A lot of people are like, I'm just going to guess, it's like, well, yeah, that's what everybody usually does. But if you're using your psi ability, like that's what you're comparing this too, is if you comparing it to if you were guessing it to if you were using some sort of sixth sense or psi ability. And so that's what you want to be able to gauge. And I think that's kind of what I've been trying to develop for the next stage of this remote viewing platform, is like the way that people could actually keep track of their statistics, to see even like there's an application called RV Tournament where people could do a remote viewing, and like you can kind of like see where you are. Like I love that shit. Like if you were able to see like who's the best remote viewer right now, like if Joe McMonagle, obviously, if some of these guys from the Stargate program like were to do this app all the time, like they would be probably pretty damn good. But it would be cool to see like who the best remote viewers are right now in the world, like wherever they are. That would be cool to actually kind of gauge and to see in this test.
I'll jump in here on two questions. One about working professionally in remote viewing. Unfortunately, what happens with that is this: you will get involved with an instructor or someone, or produce some good data. And so, like, when I was finished with the advanced and operational training, I was recommended to one of the premier remote viewing groups. Then they auditioned me. I passed that. Then I started doing sessions professionally for them. The most I ever got on a particular session was $500. That is very, very scarce and far between. So for me, I do it as reciprocity, just thanking the universe for perception. So I donated all my stuff to Raccoon Rescue, of all things. But the reason a lot of the famous instructors, former Stargate, and then some of those that have come up behind them, have websites, other projects, write books, and do instruction, is because that's where the actual money is. So when you're like, for me, I would be terrified to go work for the government in a psychic function. It's just not something I would want to do. It gets pretty weird and fairly dark in certain situations, and you would be asked to do a lot of things, given most of the tones of the people I sense here, that would be against our ethics. So if you want to do it, it's a matter of finding the trainer that suits you. Um, the trainer that I trained with was Paul H. Smith, and that was 3 years, and that's a very dedicated process. You've got the week-long courses, then 10 homeworks between the courses, lots of other type of project and testing and training, skill building type stuff in there. So you have to be really dedicated. Now, with some of the people that are phenoms, and I saw some really good session data here in these things. There might be an expedited path. One of the areas that I trained for 6 months was in the psychic detective area, and again, that depends on your nature. Some of the things that you get assigned, you don't want to experience subjectively, even through a remote viewing session. But there are ways. But the predominant way, and why so many people come out of training, achieve some proficiency, and go into instruction, is because that's kind of where the money's going to be. So I never inflate people's hopes about that. I was very disappointed. And then the other thing a lot of these people do, they do pro bono sessions. So the taskers and the project managers and the RV companies will do things like a missing child or things, for free to the client. So you'll do a lot of work that's not compensated for, but it still is a great aspiration. I would never discourage anybody, but at the same time, I would never put someone in a state of false hope out there.
Well, I think too, people talk about making money with, like, obviously the next step once once you figure out remote viewing is legit is like, okay, how do I make money? How do I make money at this? And I think most people's kind of assumption is like, okay, I'll just like remote view the lottery numbers or like do something. But the only way that I've seen that somebody has legitimately used remote viewing to make money as a system is through associative remote viewing, where it's been like this guy took like he did like 6,000 trials of sports betting. He did like a sports betting where he would remote view something and then based off of his target, he would bet on the specific team. So it would be like the Super Bowl, whether it's the Chiefs or the Dolphins, and he would get a target and um one target would be for a certain team and the other target would be for another one. And so then he would place his bet based off of what he would get his submission on. But it wasn't like he would put all of his bet on one thing. It would be like over like, 5,000, 6,000 submissions. And so he actually made like, like 400 or $500,000, but it was a system that was put into place. And so nobody is really doing that. They're looking for like that one submission or that one, like, people talk about the um overwhelming evidence and type of submission that would convince everybody. But I don't think people are taking into account the just natural ability that this is.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of people are doing ARV. Paul teaches an ARV course. He advises his Series CRV students not to do it because it will kind of mess with your CRV format. You've got crypto viewing out there. I know a lot of the guys on that team. I trained with a guy who basically invented ARV for horse racing. So there are a lot of those things out there where you could possibly use it. There's a lot of people that just use it in their normal businesses for new ideas, new marketing, client contact. So there's a whole variety of ways. And like you say, once you sit there and sorry for me, just emotional. Once you sit there and just cry over a session, wondering how in the hell did I do that? And you feel that that miracle, that ability, that whatever it is, and you realize it's real. It is. You get set on fire. You become like an evangelist. You want everybody to know this. You want to make your living out, and so tempering that with reality, that's a little that was a tough bump in the road for me and for others, I know. But the enthusiasm and the exuberance and the possibility of doing good for the world, um I I love to see people excited, and I love just like looking down through those sessions, a couple of things, and that one that was just literally the fountain. That's exciting. That reinvigorates me, and so these spaces, especially yours, and then oh goodness, there's another space I've come to like. What's her name? She's been in your space before.
The Fringe.
Yes. Okay. So I've sampled a bunch, and some of them are like, "Oh, geez, I'm going to get out of here." But you and Fringe, and have the right spirit, the right group of people. So I can tell you, even as an experienced person, this particular thing, it's very interesting. It's very exciting to hear other people's stories. So it's a great thing. I just, like I say, there's ways to bring it into your life profitably, but really where the true benefit is how it improves you personally, and then I guess you'd say expands or ripples out into other possibilities. So anyways, I could get so excited I talk too much. Thanks again.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for contributing, man. Jumping up. Appreciate it. Ray, go ahead.
If it's okay, I'd like to, I just like piece something else together about my target. You know, it takes me a while to process it. Kimball, am I saying something funny? I'm not going to do this.
Yes.
So with the arrows, how I drew them going both ways, I just kind of realized that like water in a fountain, you know, it feeds up and then goes down. Thanks.
Seems like a couple people got this like sideways or like a different angle, like just like rotated. Heather, go ahead. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Um, so I assume Direct is the person that's been talking. I can't ever see your mic open. I assume that's you who's been sharing all your wisdom. You said something about crying, and it reminded me of something that took place several months ago, and I totally forgot about it. And I'm pretty sure this person was messing with me. It was in a space, and we were talking about remote viewing, and he challenged me to remote view what he was looking at, right? So I saw like, I don't know, picture of your
Bring that
mom on a
shit.
bookshelf. I was like a picture of your mom on a bookshelf, and he's like, I was looking at my bookshelf, and you know, there was a couple things where supposedly I got it right, right? But at the time, I didn't think that he was like, I thought he was fucking with me, but at the same time, I didn't. But like on my own later on that night, I went into like ontological shock over it, just like thinking about it, and I started fucking crying because I didn't know if he was like telling the truth or not, and it was really fucking with me. And now I really honestly feel like he was fucking with me. But yeah, you reminded me of that, and yeah, it was kind of crazy. I was like, yo, this is yeah, totally like flipped my world upside down for a few hours there. Like I was going through it. But I'm pretty sure he was messing with me, and that sucks. But then Astral, I wanted to ask you a question. For somebody like me, who isn't as knowledgeable as most of the people who come up and speak in your remote viewing space about remote viewing, and considering this is your 56th one of these, that's a lot of hours, a lot of content to go through. And I'll be honest with you, I don't have the time to go through it. So is there a particular space out of all of them where you feel it was like really chock full of like very helpful information, or is there something outside of you somewhere else that I could go to find more information? Like to get me set on the right path, because honestly I don't have time to go back and listen to all 56 of your spaces.
Right? uh, there was a space where Buddy came and talked about his method for remote viewing, and Direct Perception talked about tonight a lot of things that I would suggest in working on remote viewing. And I think that's what I want to bring to the space more of like people who are experienced at remote viewing or like have advice to be able to share to people who are trying it out for the very first time. So I think this space can be valuable in that. But there was one space where Buddy, and I'll share it after I go through it. But Buddy went through his process of the alien protocols of how he remote views, and he talked about his process, and then like in real time he talked about the target and really was spot on. He drew it out and shared his drawing as well as in real time like described the target, and it was pretty incredible, to be honest, of his submission. So that was pretty cool. But I think I do want to be able to bring people on not only who have been experienced in like people like Paul Smith. We had on UFO Twitter Week last time. I brought him on, and he gave some great advice and just talked about remote viewing and stuff like that. But I think I'm going to try and get Daz Smith on for the next time. But different people that can offer just different advice, and methods and different interpretations of like what their experiences are like with remote viewing, I think would be cool.
Yeah, I'll jump in since you mentioned Daz. I was just going to say, I've known Daz for a long time, and we've done some things together. So, would it be okay with you, Astral, in the where you posted the feedback? Um, if I post Daz's website, he has the best website. He explains some of the different methods, like technical remote viewing, scientific remote, all the different remote viewings. He himself was trained in CRV, but now he's come up with his own method called Flow, which is like CRV but not quite so rigid, and it works for a certain type of person. I had to have CRV to kill my left brain, so to speak. But there's other people who can jump in and go with the Flow. He shows all of the history. Now he's just added a new feature to his website, which is a basic CRV tutorial with like things you can print out to remind you to check for sounds or smells or this. So it's a really great thing. So if it's okay with you, I'll post Daz's resource there where you posted the feedback.
Oh hell yeah, absolutely, dude. And let's get him on for UFO Twitter Week, man, for in a couple weeks for the remote viewing space.
Yeah, I can
I
either.
think a lot of the stuff that he's been working on and what you've been talking about would be a really great space for people.
Yeah, well, I think. I mean, you do know how to get a hold of Daz?
I'm connected.
Okay. Yeah. If you can, or if not, I can mention it to him. We're going to talk again here in a couple of days.
Yeah.
So I can mention, but I mean, if you've got the contact with them, go for it. But I can always throw in something. He's a really good speaker. He knows what he's talking about, and if you knew some of the projects he's currently working on, it would blow your mind. He like I said, I don't know how long I've known him, but I'll go ahead and post his thing because I consider that safe. He's not pushing anything. He shows the whole picture. He's not trying to sell you anything. That kind of thing. So some of the other people, I wouldn't post their stuff necessarily because it's a little bit too proprietary, but I'll post that there, and then anybody interested could take a look. He's got the best historical information. He's very, very connected to Ingo's estate currently. He does a lot of graphics, artwork, and then he's been interviewing, going places, I think as far as Egypt, interviewing the actual people, friends, people that were involved in Ingo's life. He and I have done a lot of work in Ingo's archives together, trying to get more of it out there on the University of West Georgia website. But he would be a really great guest for you. So I'll mention it to him and I'll post his thing right now.
Dude, I was a actual applicant for the West Georgia, the Ingo Swan fucking thing where they like send somebody there for a week. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have to connect.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. What happened to me, I went to the 2018 IRBA and they found out that I had a certain specialty outside of remote viewing, that Ingo had a big folder of, and so the current president of IRBA, Deborah, asked me, would I be willing to look through that folder? And I'm like I'm going to get to see Ingo's archives. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, of course. I'll set myself on fire or look through the folder, either one. So that's how I got involved. And we could talk about that. If I even mention that word, that will open up an entire new can of worms. But Daz was also one of the people invited in. And so we've communicated and worked. We're working on another project right now where we got some potentially interesting information released with some permission from some big names from the old school remote viewing, some documents that have been kind of set aside for a few decades. So I'll mention it to Daz. I'll post that. And then, yeah, anytime, if you ever want to have a face-to-face Zoom or something like that, get acquainted. I
Did you mute yourself?
Whoops. Oh, well, I don't remember where it got cut off. I did mute myself, and I'm sorry. So, anyways, point being, I'm going to send you Daz's. I'm going to put Daz's thing in the group. If you ever want to have a Zoom, Astral, get to know each other personally, face to face, I can substantiate things I've said in case that's an issue for you.
Absolutely, dude.
I would love to. Yeah. So, all right. After this, I'm gonna check out. My girlfriend is demanding that I come upstairs. So,
Dude,
yeah.
thanks for stopping by, man. It's been a pleasure, and we'll definitely connect after this, man. I appreciate you stopping by for the
Yeah,
conversation.
hit me up anytime. I'm semi-retired, so I spend a lot of time doing research and working all day on the computer, and we can Zoom whatever. But I want to thank everybody here, and you, and then your co-host. But I like it. I'm gonna try to become part of it more and more, and just see what the future holds. So thank you guys.
Hell yeah. B, did you want to jump in?
I was going to jump in quick enough to tell you before you went searching through yours, because I happen to have it in my handy dandy bookmarks. The live experience of Buddy's reading that you were explaining, I've got it up in the list.
It was a great space. He talked about just his method of the pencil drop and going through that process. And then at the last minute, he just kind of spur of the moment went through his submission, and it was just absolutely spot on. It could not have been, I don't think it could have been any better for a submission of what it was. So very cool. If anybody wants to jump in, say any last words, I'm going to close the space in just a couple minutes. Thanks again to everybody who's jumped in, contributed to the conversation, the co-host throughout the night, everybody who's contributed to the remote viewing and the conversation. It's been an awesome conversation. I appreciate everybody who's jumped in and talked and contributed. So thanks again. Dirt Jane, what up?
Hey guys. I saw something really scary tonight. It was like a bright light going through the sky, like really close to my house. I'm just wondering if anyone knows what that is.
Did you get it on video?
No.
What did it react to your thought at all, or what made it scary?
It was just flying through the sky and just like really close to the window kind of, and like didn't and then it flew away. Quite slowly. Has anyone
I mean, that sounds interesting.
Has anyone ever seen anything like that before, or should I go to the doctor, or, like, check my brain at all?
I don't think you need to do that just yet.
Okay.
But I think it's definitely an interesting occurrence. I don't know the full details of what it was and what you saw. Like, gosh, you're jumping into a group where there's definitely acceptance of what you've seen, but I think to analyze of what exactly it was is so tough for people in a chat room to do right now.
Right, yeah. Well, thanks for listening.
I think it's good to be able to explore it and be open to conversate it. I think that's one of the struggles is people being comfortable enough to share their experience, even their sighting. I feel like one of the coolest things that I've seen on Twitter Spaces is the ability for people to share their sighting in real time, and it's almost like, okay, people are willing to get to the bottom of whatever it is. Like, okay, it's not aliens, obviously,
Mm.
if there's a sighting, but there's enough people in the area or with information to be able to solve the issue so that what it is that you're looking at.
So how can I like contact the aliens to come back, or how do I make it?
To come
Yeah,
back? Oh shit.
like
Ready? You're ready.
I'd let.
I don't think any of us were prepared for these questions tonight.
Sorry.
No, you've come to the right spot, though. That's the thing. If you haven't already, if you're not familiar with like this community, like you're definitely in a place where people believe these things, and um, yeah, I,
Shit, I went out for a CE5 tonight. Like I went out and was basically looking into the sky, being like, okay, show me something to tell me that there's something going on and there's something anomalous happening in the sky. And I think like a lot of the time, it's just personal confirmation
Mm-hmm.
that something is happening.
So have you seen stuff before?
I have, yeah.
What did you see?
I think a lot of the people in spaces have. It's just a matter of what it takes, whether it's evidence or personal curiosity to get somebody invested in this topic.
Mm.
and it's like a wide spectrum of things that people have seen or are experiencing, and yeah, it's right, like and for some people, like it's in the astral or dream realm. And honestly, Kimball, like, grow up. Like, we're here to talk about the phenomenon. Like, please be an adult. I don't have time for this.
Wait, what's happening?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Somebody's just like antagonizing another person in a space, and it's just like really obnoxious. Um, honestly, Kimball, like, that's okay. It's just really distracting, and like that. So I'm just trying to be helpful here, and now I'm distracted. And yeah. Anyway, I'm really sorry. I'm gonna leave. And awesome space astral. Thank you, Kimball. Honestly, I don't know.
Wait, what is he? What is he doing?
Is just like trying to honestly, it's my problem that it distracts me, but he's just antagonizing me by throwing emojis because it gets me exactly like
Was
this.
it? Maybe he's.
It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
It's on me. So I'm gonna remove myself because I'm getting emotional, which was his goal. Because Kimball, have you even like contributed to the conversation at all? No, like I'm here to talk about remote viewing and the phenomenon. And all right, I'm out.
What does remote viewing mean?
I think remote viewing is a way to test what is called clairvoyance. So people talk about remote viewing as in a type of experience, but I think what they're really talking about is clairvoyance, which is an ability to visualize an event, place, or thing. And I think remote viewing is a way to actually test it. In my opinion, it's the best way to test it. So a lot of people talk about being psychic or having abilities or doing something or blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, well, like, come fucking remote view, like, come test the ability. And so it's the ultimate nullifier, in my opinion, is a way for somebody to test out their psychic ability. And it doesn't put the emphasis on everything is on one submission. It's over time you can see your ability as like it's like baseball, so you can see like if somebody's a good hitter, they can see like over 10 or 20 or 50 submissions if they're actually good, instead of like it all being on one submission. And like, I think people when they first try remote viewing, they're like, oh, like I'm not good. I didn't do good this time. Like I suck. I'm not any good. But I think a lot better gauge would be if you tried it 10 times and then you were to compare it to something like, like chance, which is, a lot of times like 25%. So you would be able to compare it to something. But I think like that's to me, remote viewing is a way to test your psychic
But
ability.
how do you do it?
So you would in this case of what I'm doing, you would draw out your actual submission. So you would visualize what the random photo is inside the envelope and draw it out, post it in the Twitter feed, in the actual submission, and then you would be able to compare it. So you would be able to see like what elements you have, or
Mm.
how close you are to it. And so you would be able to over time see if your ability to remote view items inside of an envelope, and this is just a very specific way to do it. There's different protocols, like you can do it precognitively. We've talked about like going to a location, so like you can send somebody to a location and do it. So there's different ways to test it. This is just a very like fun and simple way to test remote viewing.
I see.
Emus, what would you say?
I just have a quick question while I think about it. I think it was Taylor that had mentioned the app where you like travel somewhere, and Astral, you had known like the creator of it. I was wondering what app that was.
It's called Randonautica. I put it in the chat, and there's a link to the Apple App Store, but Randonautica, and the subreddit will show you a lot of personal stories of how people experience it. It's pretty simple though, so you can get in pretty fast.
Right on. Thank you. I didn't notice that you had posted it. Thanks.
Yeah, the random number generator, I think, is going to be more used coming up in different ways. But I even myself, I don't really understand how it would be used to show different type of, I don't know, things or events taking place, even with the global consciousness project.
I don't really understand it, frankly. I want to figure out more about it.
I know for like like psychokinesis, like PK, there's a app for your computer that you would use where it would be like a line in the middle, so above it and below it would be randomly generated, and so you would try to have like the dot, you would physically or like mentally try and move the dot above a certain line, or like have it, go a certain way. And so then you would compare it to the random number generator. So it would be very specific things that you would have to measure. And so I think that's the tough part, is like using the random number generators to actually test things. You would have to do it, based off of the people that are actually testing it mentally and at the time. And so you would have to keep track of like what they're actually trying to do. That's really the tough part. But I'll throw it to anybody. I'm going to close the space in just a couple of minutes. B, thanks again for hosting or co-hosting. Everybody else who's jumped in, from Ray to Emas to G, talking about all your experiences with remote viewing. Thanks again. I see a bunch of people down below that I appreciate coming through just to, listen to the space and participate. So thanks again, everybody.
Yeah, this was a fantastic discussion. A lot of good resources shared.
I appreciate everybody coming through. I do this every Thursday, so I'll keep the spaces going. I don't have any plans to stop. I really appreciate everybody who comes by and tries the remote viewing space, and whether it's your first time or you're coming back just to see, uh, different type of testing, or you're protocols or abilities or methods. I appreciate everybody coming up and contributing to the conversation. So thanks again, everybody. So come back in the future. Have a good night. Thanks again. Later.